Well, Mark too, for that matter. People understand the lighting.
You are being recorded.
There's a lamp in the back of the room. You can pass it around. That's what that light is back of the room. In any case, the recording light is.
Okay.
Lights on. The back of your heads. You guys back there probably aren't even on it. You're not.
My head is so.
Little tiny bit. You can duck if you don't want your head in it.
Yeah.
If you come off and you can make that a little miniature billboard and sell your getting in there.
That's 2 weeks before maybe you get your taxes. Where's this?
That light in the back.
Oh.
So if it's red, it means the team session is there. If it's green, we're active recording. And if it turns blue, it means somebody on there is really who wants to make the comment. Hi. Morning, Ben.
Morning, man.
Need a pen? Or a book, you know.
That's not what you're looking for. You want the paper back, okay?
John, that's.
These making one minute. Well, it is 9:30. All those that so choose.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order with everyone present, and as a reminder, the meeting is being taped.
First item on the agenda this morning is the Frankville Water Board, water system treatment expense.
So I'm Trisha Berg, this is Mike McAbee, Mike Green, and Don Delora. The three of us are the water board. I don't think any of you supervisors were on when we took this
Right.
project. But we've been successful with it since 2016, so and it's been some information to share with you guys, but we have a concern that's been going on for quite some time with the iron and rust in the water. So Don did some work, Mike did some work with the DNR, and we had it tested, and a recommendation to us is to add an extra chemical, which is an expense that we're not able to cover. So with the county being involved as much as they were just coming and asking for some assistance and that chemical, I guess. It's a polyphosphate chemical. John can maybe tell you a little more about it, but
We have two wells over there. We alternate the wells. And I flush hydrants. We only have 5 every 3 months. And the iron's really high in both wells. And so I contacted our chemical guy because I take care of city of Castelia. We had the same problem when we put polyphosphate in the chemical that we use. It uses about 1/4 pound a day or about 2 gallons a month. And it's a ortho poly mix 30-70 blend. And how they determine that is I had both wells tested. And the polyphosphate surrounds the molecule and it keeps the iron from coming out, the red. And it's really helped us in Castelia, but we got a big problem, Frankville, with that. And the expense to add the chemical, and then we gotta put an injector online, and then we gotta buy a scale, and of course, we gotta get approved by the DNR. We gotta present this to the DNR to get it construction permit, so.
so the total I didn't really have on that whole sheet there, but the total just to cover what we think most of our costs would be, I guess, that we would ask for you guys for your assistance would be like 4,500
One time or annually?
one time.
One time.
Yeah, for the equipment one time.
That'd be the tester, the tester, because I gotta buy a pocket telemeter, and that'd be the chemical up front, the chemicals, and injector on the line, the pump, and then stuff to put it in. Plus, we gotta tap the main to put the
Agree.
injector.
I think it's
How many hookups are in Frankville?
it's something we can do, but it's not,
53 households.
it's not something, we're not, I read a lot in Proverbs last night and stuff, and it's like,
Those online, please mute your microphone. Thank you.
Our whole loan and situation runs through the county. We make 2 payments a year. Save the money up, give it to Ben. Ben makes the payment. You do assist us with our insurance once a year. You pay half, we pay half, and that's essentially because the county owns the property. They purchased the property to put the well house on and the well yacht.
And it does run like, when it comes out the hydrant, when Donnie flushes, it looks like Orange Crush. I mean, it is orange, you know, and we got people have wrecked clothing and stuff doing a low laundry or something, and, you know, because the way it works is it just kind of comes up once in a while, you know, but when it comes up, it's bad. It's really bad. So.
Do we have it in the budget? And
If you don't have anything in the budget, you would have to amend your budget. And I'm assuming they're not wanting to wait till next fiscal year. You're talking this spring probably. Or
Yeah, if we could, sooner the better.
Yeah, I guess
we won't go forward with it.
Is that a motion?
I'm just discussing right now.
Oh, okay. I would move to approve a $48 expenditure to
4,500.
4,500. What did I say?
$8.
4,500 expenditure to help Frankville with the added polyphosphate chemical injector and the scales needed to make this happen.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second. to fund the Frankville Water District $4,500 for improvements. Is there any further discussion?
One question of the group. Did you discuss this with our county sanitarian as to the water quality issues and so forth?
Right now, we're working with Iowa Rural
Rural
Water
Water.
Association. And we have been in contact with them and he's been in contact with sanitation and such. We're working on a water source protection plan with the Iowa Rural Water Association, so. As far as, like I said, these guys are, Mike did a lot of work with the DNR and that's, I mean, and they come
You know,
for the permit and everything, and that's really the only solution that anybody has presented to us to solve it, so I don't. But,
the DNR said, oh, I got all the information I need to fill out the forms. When the time comes that we get enough money to do it, we're all set to go. We're green lighted that way. It's such a small project that we don't need to get an engineer to come in to do an assessment and stuff. So we're lucky like that. It's like the easiest possible way that we could get a permit. That's good. So,
And this is the same setup you put in Castellano, Donnie?
Yeah.
And no problems.
No.
Yeah. Sounds like.
What would your ongoing cost be for chemicals and so forth? How much will they add to?
I use a 5-gallon carboy and that, they're figuring about 1.9 gallons a month, so probably.
$110 a month roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100 to 110. It's 55 or 50 $1 a gallon. So if you're using 1.9, you'd be 100 to 110 a month for.
Well, I get by in Castelia, we pump less water there. I'm using a quarter of a gallon because you just set it up on you. So I'm running 5 gallons and that lasts me 6 months over there. So if you figure 2, it'd be about $500 for the chemicals a year.
For
I'd say about every 6 months I.
it'd be 13.20.
Well, yeah.
13. If you're using 110.
And that cost will just get passed on to the landowners, correct?
yeah, I'm through our monthly,
Okay.
monthly rate.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
So
We
you
don't
can,
feel
you
like
can
we
handle
would have
that.
a, we don't feel like we'd have a problem handling that monthly cost.
we could eat that for now, yeah.
Yeah, it's be roughly $110 a month.
Yep.
53 households, that's about $2 a month.
Yeah.
And we just raised our rate, like
Oh.
$3 a month, so.
Yeah, so we'll wait a little bit. We got to, maybe not right now,
Everybody in the county has had to, every city, small city in the county has had to raise.
This is
Same.
like- it's been our period of time. This is, we've only raised it once, so, the community's kind of a low
One of the things,
economic thing, so we try to keep it as feasible as we can, plus cover what we can, so.
have you built into your rate structure building any reserves?
Yeah, so
That's-
we,
That lack of raising is what Spillville, Fort, Ridgeway all felt the pressure of when the DNR came in and changed regulations and they were faced with some major expenses. So they
It's nice to put a little away for a rainy day.
Yeah, right, yeah,
It's a little easier to do it a little bit for a long time than a major big increase, which most of those little small towns suffered.
so, like I said, this is the first time we've raised it, but it's something that we keep in the back of our mind that, not to get it out of hand,
Yeah.
but again, we have to cover all of these. Chemicals don't get any cheaper,
yeah.
Adding that will take the orange out of the water, but it may not affect that metallic taste, correct?
Some nobody really has complained of the
Yeah.
taste.
Yeah.
Nobody's complaining of taste.
I mean, we did once, but our chlorine thing was not
Yeah.
working correctly, and so that fixed that solution very fast. So nobody's ever complained of the taste. They're just complained of what comes out of their faucet, washing machines, and so.
All right, well, we have a motion and second on call to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
We're done with claims for this month, and we're not meeting next week, so.
This is cool, I like this song.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, good night. See ya.
Yeah.
Take care of that.
Everybody.
Guys.
What do we have for consent agenda?
Minutes, claims. That might be it.
What's, how many people are on Flex, take advantage of Flex plan?
I don't know the number.
It's not very many, or?
It's not a lot. I mean, the cost of the county is pretty minimal. We pay a
200.
The,
It's 200 and some dollars.
but, otherwise the program is that it's just money people get taken out of their
Yeah,
paychecks and put away for the eligible expenses. So
I was wondering if there wasn't a lot of people using it, if it was worth $200 a month.
it is.
There's a plus and a minus to it.
Right.
I'd move to approve the consent agenda.
Second that?
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
Sure one.
We actually have 3 different types of flex, because you can flex regular flex account. There's a limited flex, it's called, for people who already have an HSA, so they have a further restrictions. And there's flex for dependent care if they're paying daycare.
Now you signed it. We got a couple. Maybe it is in the meeting reports.
Yeah, we had a good 6-county meeting last week on Thursday morning. The opioid settlement task force presented the methadone clinic at the Bayfair Health Center. So myself as the representative from this county and other county supervisors who are on their task force will be getting together to look at the proposal put before us and see if there's a way we can pool our money to make some differences in actual clinical services for the people in the region, not just Winneshiek County, but the whole region is served at Behavioral Health Center here in Decorah, rather than driving to the next closest clinic, which is in Waterloo. So I'll give you an update on that as we go through this, and it will come to the full board for final approval after we've all discussed it as a regional team. You guys want to speak to solid waste?
I had public health on Wednesday and just went over the FY 25 budget amendment. She didn't have it all quite all figured, so we couldn't do nothing there in the FY 26 budget. So other than that, it's about all we really just regular business.
Did she report new staff though?
I had to leave her. I had
Oh,
a family thing that come up. I had to leave a few minutes. early.
there's some good news that she was able to hire another nurse, I believe. They're feeling better staffed there. And they're feeling good about their team. It was a nice,
So that
nice
means
meeting.
that's one nurse now.
One nurse.
to
I might be wrong.
to
Two.
at acceptable wages to them.
Yeah.
And the director is very happy with the enthusiasm and the energy they're bringing to the department. And they each have had their first day on the job.
It's 9:45. The next item on the agenda is the Winneshiek County Pioneer Cemetery Commission. Come forward.
Good morning. We won't take very much time. We're just here to remind you that we are here.
15 minutes.
15 minutes. I should have had a speech. Is that what you're saying? Well, if you want me to talk, we can talk.
Tell us about all the good things you're doing.
All the good things we're doing. We are presenting the budget that we raised a little bit this year for the first time in, I think it's been 5 years, but we decided at our last meeting, it's in the minutes. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but our mowers are very good to us and.
And that's all your budget is mowing. There's no.
Right, well, and we have incidentals for fixing stuff and taking trees, because we have some cemeteries that are going to be tree issues at some point in time. Right now, they're not. And when we've had troubles in the past, we've been able to get neighbors and people to volunteer and whatever, but there will be a time when you gotta hire a professional to get the job done. So that's the incidentals that's on there, but otherwise, yes, it's just mowing. And you'll see that some of those that are pretty low, those people are still mowing. It's just, they do it for cheap. So we try to treat our mowers pretty well, because the minute you put mowing a cemetery, it goes back to nothing, and you might as well not be doing this job at all. So there's 44 of them in the county. We got to do kind of a fun field trip this year that I'll mention. The Hillside Cemetery, is that what it's called? Hillside Cemetery up in Freeport. And years back, there had been some interesting conversations between committee members and people who own blah, blah, blah. We hadn't been up there for years, and we had a really, really neat visit up there. We got to walk through with the property owner and some people who had family buried and stuff up there. So we're still doing that kind of thing too, and hoping to plan for some more of that in the coming year. And
But these other, there's 44, you say?
44 in the county.
Who mows the other ones that aren't here?
Well, some of them are not mowable. Some of them are, so like the Barnes Cemetery is the township over in that neck of the woods, for example. The one just up the road from that is not mowable. It's kind of woods, right? And so the neighbor lady, her name is MJ. If you've ever read any of them. Yes, MJ is well known everywhere. She's good. She's very excited about it, but there's a burial up there somewhere. We don't exactly know where, but she does her best to. She's trying to turn it back to Oak Savannah, which is kind of an interesting project that she mostly does herself. But
Maybe just,
to help.
maybe just a reminder, what is the definition of a pioneer cemetery?
12 or fewer burials in the past 15 years. So these are very old places. And some of them not as well marked. So back to your comment, the 44 of them, they're all over the place. Some of them on private property. So you have to have permission before you can access and that type of thing. What am I missing with that?
One in the middle of the cornfield.
Yeah. That one's really fun to get to.
But some of
If
them,
you're looking for a good walk.
some of them have been taken like by the church that's nearby. So some of them are taken care of by other organizations.
It's a really neat project and commission.
We have,
Thanks for the work on it.
thank you for continuing to fund us.
Are you still able to keep up with the condition of the headstones when you come across?
That's on the incidentals thing. So this was probably 4 or 5 years ago, but we did a big bunch of work at St. Karen's, which is one of the farthest north and farthest west cemeteries that we take care of. It's right on the Howard Winneshiek line on County Road 814. We did actually hosted a seminar out there with the gravestone preservationist, and then after that did a bunch of work ourselves. And so we've kind of tried to those types of places. Big Canoe Methodist applies to that same thing. We did a bunch of work renovating and raising stones and that kind of thing, and then try to stay on top of it. But that's where the incidentals come into, is making sure we have our equipment, because we have a tripod and we have all the stuff that we need to fix, but things like the epoxy and things that we need would have to be purchased from time to time. So, but so far, where's the wood around here? We haven't had a ton of, like, as far as vandalism and that kind of things go. The one that we were talking about out in the middle of the cornfield has this very, very tall obelisk stone. So far, it was put up in 1899. It has not tipped over. Or got knocked over by one of the big, beautiful oak trees right there at the cemetery, but that day could come. And we're ready for it when it comes, but you're not gonna fix something that's not broken. We don't have that much time on our schedules.
How many are on the commission?
Good job.
Thank you to them all.
Yeah, you were a topic at the regional city council meeting tonight, just because of what you do to help of how to clean stones and so forth, and the
Oh.
knowledge base that you have.
Yeah, because we did a seminar out the one at the Ridgeway Cemetery 2 summers ago. Yeah, that was a lot of fun too. That was neat.
And you
Well,
do,
thanks for talking nice about us. We appreciate that
and you
too.
do replace if somebody does find a stone periodically just out randomly up against a tree, you will.
We do the best we can. We
Talk
have,
to a cemetery, or, maybe in
Yeah.
your cemetery and see if you can place it in there.
right, and Stacy Gosling, by the way, I don't think I introduced her, I apologize. Is our historian and researcher extraordinaire. So yeah, we actually just did get a couple of stones this summer. Some guy found them out in his field. We think they might be footstones only, and so then you're only dealing with initials. I don't know, good luck. This will be a winter project. That's what she does, and when it blizzards out, you can guarantee she's researching stones. We do have a few orphan stones out in our shed that we've reset a couple of them. We haven't reset all of them because we don't know where they go and who they belong to. And
Or the
until
cemetery's just not there anymore.
or the cemetery's not there. And then, it remains to be, what's the best way to remember the people and honor them and do the right thing. So projects in the works.
Your shed is located out at the Wellington Place, behind the Wellington Place, on county property back there, so.
Yep.
You keep some of your tools and.
Yep. Our
These,
tripod and all that stuff is all out there, which very nicely was built for us. And we have our little trailer. We have a little trailer too. Which we've had for years.
Nice. Thank you.
Sounds
Other
good.
questions?
No.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good night. Have a great day.
You too.
Go back to some of the committee reports. The solid waste board purchased a lot of items for the landfill this last week to replace everything that was lost in the fire. So that's all going forward.
That was they accepted a bid of a company that said they can have the new shed up in 60 days.
60 days was
Start to finish. Oh,
They have all the
On their
post holes drilled. They have the posts set, part of them poured, got too cold, they're back on it. If the winds hold without being too strong, TJ says they'll be trying to set 60-foot trusses, maybe even by the end of this week.
I was hoping to have them set by the end of the week now.
So hopefully we don't get the wind, they'll be able to continue.
it's gonna take some nice weather in order to get that
Yeah.
accomplished in 60
At
days.
least it's
Truss up.
going the right way.
They putting the new building right where the old one was, or they
Yeah.
moving
It's
over?
actually a little larger.
Set it back about 2 feet around the perimeter of all the old cement, then they can use, well, you can't use, or they're just gonna pour over top of the old cement that's popping already from the.
Not
heat,
usable.
so.
But it's, it'd make a good base.
Yeah, at least if they get the roof up, sides out, they can drive in there and get out of the wind, but yeah, be able to
so
go forwards.
the bids we accepted or that were accepted did not include the cement. That's going to be an additional cost.
For the public, the landfill is a separate entity. It's not a part of the county per se as far as budgeting. It's this separate landfill board. And it is, we attended, but it's a standalone entity.
So 4 supervisors are members of that solid waste board.
And city mayors and others.
Yeah. Well,
So today there is a Winneshiek County Development and Tourism meeting that's really just a tour of the new vet clinic for those of us that want to attend. Are you going, Dan?
I don't think we'll be out of here by the time that starts.
So I told them we'll try to be there by 1, but anyway, that's it out there. And then got Housing Trust tomorrow at 1:30 and Iowa RC&D down in Postville Thursday.
We also had a meeting with HHS this last week. That's looking very positive right now. John was taking care of one of the loose ends down there. At first, they wanted a separate server moved to a separate room, and John was speaking with them. It's fine where it's at. So that's taken care of. It's just one small step at a
Fine
time.
tuning stuff now to get them in there.
It just seems like we keep going over the same things every meeting. It's a little frustrating, but I guess that's the way the state works.
It's government.
Yes,
Open.
well, it's frustrating.
There was concern by them for concern over the server security for their gear, of which I think John's gonna go ahead and order. But John Lupke found, a screen mesh rolling door, lockable security scenario that we could put in there and isolate that section. And I think he's gonna go ahead and order that and arrange for it to be put in. All of those details, John got squared away. John
And he
Lupke
actually-
got squared away.
Yeah, he's working on adding some electrical
That's already been done.
outlets.
That was done.
It's done.
Friday,
Okay, it was,
Thursday or Friday.
so. It
Who's
is,
working with the permits for that?
Permit
City.
for what?
There is no permit for.
For electrical?
That's a state requirement, not a city requirement. All electrical permits come from the state. The electrician is responsible for that. Sutton Electric did that along with the light change out.
I think last time we looked into this, there is something we need to do with the city decor.
We don't,
buildings
when
within
we
the
put the
city.
screen wall in, we have no responsibility. It's non-bearing, non-structural, and there's no utilities in it whatsoever. So it's a simple metal screen with a locking door on it that limits access to the server and our internal switching and so forth on that wall.
They aren't moving, adding or anything, just putting containing it with a lock system. So they are the only ones that have access to it.
Well, they and us.
Us and them,
Yeah, it's not public.
public access.
But had we gone the other direction of giving them a separate room, that could have been $20,000 to $25,000 of electrical piping and requirements to do so.
and there are some other fine things that they have to go over, like parking spots and.
Handicap. Parking. They need a couple parking spots for their.
A drop
state
box.
car, Drop box.
Just a bunch of little
Simple.
things.
But we don't have, do you know, Ben, if that, I don't believe that conference room has been put up for reservation on the website. We have a reservation system for the website.
I don't think we do. We mentioned it to the IT, but they haven't gotten to that yet.
Yeah, we had a conference, meetings with solid waste and walked in and someone else was using the conference room at the same time.
And they're hoping they can move the locks from the doors from up there, bring them down here and put them on their internal doors, so we don't have to
buy new locks.
do that. Yeah,
Speaking
that would
of,
be huge.
speaking of meeting space, in addition to the 6 county meeting report I gave, that meeting space is available for people to rent at Kingpin downtown. And if you haven't seen it, I was really impressed with that meeting space. They have, screen capability to share your PowerPoints on, very clean. The restrooms are great. There's a divider wall to make it a smaller room or a larger room. So if you're looking for meeting space or party activity or any event you want to host, that's another wonderful facility in our region.
All right, it's 10 o'clock. Next item on the agenda, Trisha Wilkins, the Director of Northeast Iowa Community Action. Morning, Trisha.
Hey, it seems like it wasn't that long ago that I was here talking about the same thing. The years, and especially the end of the years, seems to just come faster and faster. So,
She's gonna review the community action request along with the general relief budget.
Right.
You should have copies.
okay. I know this group, but as a reminder, I'm Trisha Wilkins with Northeast Iowa Community Action. I've been with our agency for 16 years and just hit 7 years as a Chief Executive Officer. Our Northeast Iowa Community Action's mission is to advance community development and improve social and economic conditions for individuals and families with limited resources. And so we do this in providing quality family services, advocacy, education, and many, many partnerships with other agencies. We are mostly federally funded, as our largest share of revenue comes from the federal government. And when I pulled that data, when I say largest share, I mean like it's 74% is our level of federal funding, followed by 7% state, 3% local. Local includes our cities, our counties, and then 17% private funding. And private funding can include donors, businesses, generous individuals, but it also, a large share includes our fee for service for riding and transit, which goes back to our operation costs in the transportation program, in addition to our rent revenue that we receive for our low-income housing, which also goes back into the operation of that particular program. So we are largely funded federally. And privately, as I mentioned, because of supportive cities, counties, individuals, and businesses. And I bring up funding structure because I always think it's important, and I do this at every meeting that I'm at, to highlight the economic impact that our agency has in your communities. It's not only going to help the individuals and families and residents and your constituents, it also provides businesses to your local vendors. And that includes utilities, landlords, mechanics, hotels, grocers, and many more. So to talk specifically about Winneshiek County, you can see, and you all have your copies of the information. I'm going to probably reference that the most in our conversation today. So when you take a look at the handout, you can see in Winneshiek County, our agency served 1,142 individuals with a total amount of 320, and I have extras as well. So if you would like to, I don't need them back. Sure. With $328,960 of funding going to assist those individuals. And we also employ 33 individuals from that are our agency that are residents of Winneshiek County. That's going to be the largest number, which makes sense since our corporate office is based here in Decorah. And then in program, just to make a little bit bigger, to talk about our 7 counties a little bit, in program year 2024, we served over 10,500 individuals within our 7 counties with nearly $3.5 million in services. And I always, again, mention our dollar amounts. When I say 3.5 million in services, this is just financial assistance. This does not include service-focused programs, such as our family development program, our transit program, and Head Start. And Head Start and Transit are our two largest programs. So something just to keep in mind. And when we take a look at just a few data points for Winneshiek County, and take a look at first for LAHEAP. You can see that we serve 385 households, and we say LAHEAP, it's called the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. I try to catch myself from using the acronyms all the time because everybody knows what LAHEAP is, right? In fact, most people probably do. That might be one that's more known than compared to others. So 385 households served with $216,080 in assistance. So this Winneshiek County, as in the rest of our counties, when you compare the total overall services, it's very clear that LAHEAP plays the most significant piece to that. We have also, and LAHEAP is financial assistance, just to give a summary of what it is. It's there to provide a portion of home heating cost assistance for the winter season, but can also include repair and replacement for a non-working furnace as well. It is a supplemental program that will assist for a portion of a home energy bill. And then we have crisis assistance. In our agency, we define that as anything that could be an emergency need for families, can include food from our food pantries, financial assistance for utility disconnections, past due rent, eviction notices, car repairs, medication, anything. And we have a policy with all this, but anything that could put a family in a situation where they can't really move. And we want to be able to help them get past that situation so they can either get to work or put food on the table for their family, stay in their homes, or keep their electricity on. So for crisis assistance in Winneshiek County, we made 135 payments with a total of $60,477 of assistance. And crisis assistance funding is typically locally funded. There can be some federally funded LAHEAP in there, but typically we have had United Way of Winneshiek County has been a big support, or other grants within the county, private donors that may designate have been the funders of this local crisis program in Winneshiek County. Weatherization, this will address the health and safety of a home in addition to energy efficiency improvements. So there's two pieces to weatherization. Most of it is going to be insulation, upgrades to maybe LED lighting, and then repair, replacement of furnaces or other appliances in the home. And weatherization, we serve 6 households in Winneshiek County with just about $52,403 in total assistance. And that means the project work cost for each home is where that total assistance number comes from. Weatherization is limited. In our agency, we can do about 90 to 100 homes. That's what we're funded for, even though every person that qualifies for LAHEAP does qualify for weatherization, but the state has an additional, because there is not enough money to serve 3,500 people for weatherization in our region, they have an additional criteria, we call it a priority list, and it goes by energy usage. Those who have the highest energy usage are going to be first in the priority list to be able to receive those weatherization services. Head Start, early Head Start. Most people understand and know what Head Start is. Head Start is preschool program, offers free full day preschool. And working with families and children to improve parenting skills, involvement, health, nutrition, education, and social services, and then social interactions for children. All in all, we have 13 classrooms within our 7 counties. Winneshiek County, we have 1 classroom right here in Decorah, and we just had a recent move to Sunflower, and it has been a very good change for us. Our teaching staff and children are really excited about that. Early Head Start is a little bit before the preschool program, and so we have Early Head Start in Winneshiek County as well. Another federally funded program is part of Head Start, but is going to work with ages 0 to 3. So mothers who are pregnant, and then children who are babies to 3 years old, and doing home visits, again, working with parent involvement, parenting skills, anything that they may need. And then the hope is to have a smooth transition from Early Head Start into our Head Start classrooms in the preschool program once they get to that age. You can see for early childhood programs, we served 31 Head Start preschool students in Winneshiek County this past year, and then 9 early Head Start children. And then we move on to family development and self-sufficiency. We call it FADS, another acronym, which is also a home visiting program. And it's intended to address a family's basic needs, improve their children's well-being, and help the adults in the family develop a career path. It's a very intensive program. It's also a mostly state-funded program, unique pretty much to Iowa, and has significant success in the end result. And for FADS program, we served 9 households. We have, again, a limited slots. We have 42 slots to serve all 7 of our counties. And so wishing we could do more for that, but that is what we're funded for. So Winneshiek County did receive 9 households that were residents received services for FADS. Public transit speaks for itself. We mostly know what that is. Open to the public, but we often transport those with barriers to employment or barriers for transportation. It could be barriers for employment, medical trips, those with disabilities. Those are going to be the riders that you probably most often see using our public transportation. Winneshiek County has a significantly higher number of transportation than our other counties. We provided 21,411 rides for Winneshiek County. Decorah is very, very busy. We run about 3 to 4 buses a day just for in-town routes. And so we see significant need and continue to, we also work with Hometown Taxi, which provides a significant portion of rides too. So that's been a very good partnership for us. Low-income housing, also another higher concentrated area in Winneshiek County, especially Decorah. We have built and still own several multi-unit apartments that offer safe and affordable housing for those low-income individuals. Most of you may know, and maybe you don't know, it's us who have those homes, but we own and manage Washington Court, which is senior housing right here in Decorah. Woolen Mill, which you'll see downtown Decorah, which is also low-income housing. In the county, we have Calmer Apartments right in Calmer, and then we have the Ridgewood duplex that's right off of Montgomery Street. Any
We have a new director for the North South Public
transit? We have a new director. Yes. Oh, so you had a chance to meet him with that meeting? Good. Yes. And he comes with lots of public transit experience. He was a transportation director in the Rochester area. So it's been a very good and smooth transition.
Yeah, he seems like.
Yeah. Yep.
Excited about doing the job.
Good. Good, good. That is always a good thing.
That's the way I took it.
Yes. Yes. General assistance. Does anybody have any questions about this data?
With the girl, the ride, everybody has to pay for that?
Yes. Yep. And sometimes it's private and sometimes they do private pay. Medicaid or some of the MCOs, they may qualify for services for rides there, depending upon what they're riding for. We are funded in transit. We have supplemental federal funding from it's FTA funding, and then state funding that comes through Iowa DOT. That is a small portion of operating costs. And so that's why you'll see our rides are much lower in our area than they are a private profit transportation, because it's about 25% of what our entire operating costs are. So, yep. In town are $3 a ride.
Flat fee?
But, yep, and it depends, again, there's different tiers, but if you're doing an in-town, hey, I'm at my house in Decorah, I want to go someplace in Decorah, maybe to the grocery store or to the medical clinic, it's going to be an in-town ride for $3 one way.
That includes Walmart?
Yep. I think it's a certain radius, but yes, it would include Walmart.
We have, I just know from personal experience that sometimes we have kids that like we had, our kid would get out of school and needed a ride to our daycare.
Yep.
So we were able to get like a punch card thing that.
Oh, good.
Yeah. That was a few years ago now, but so she would ride the transit bus to the daycare.
Yep. In transit, our transit program does the in-town rides for a variety of services, errands, medical trips. We'll do longer medical trips that we'll schedule, oftentimes to, La Crosse, Rochester, Iowa City. We'll contract with schools because they may not have access to an accessible vehicle, and we've got the wheelchair access. So we'll transport, maybe a child is coming from one community and going to a school that's several communities over. And then that would be, and then we have the Dayhab Spectrum task. We often transport those individuals as well. So that's going to be the bulk of our riders on transport.
So I sit on this board, and I'm going to put in the annual plug I always do. You can give charitable donations to this nonprofit, and it makes a huge difference to have community support like that for these programs that help those in our community. You guys are great.
Trisha, are you able to get also local city support in various ones throughout the 7 counties that you deal with?
Yes, we do. And it depends upon the city, and sometimes it's dependent upon the year. But we have had support from all 7 of our counties to varying degrees in a large percentage of our cities, which we've been really, really fortunate to be able to have. And those funds that we request are they stay within the particular county or the area that we do. And typically we utilize them for outreach services. And so we have individuals that work in each outreach offices, and it might be direct assistance, it might be staffing costs, it might be space costs, whatever we may need it for, but they are within that particular community still.
Are you still able to keep up with your need for drivers in your transit program? I know at one point, it's not necessarily an easy hiring situation.
No, I mean, we're still low. We've had a consistent number of drivers for pretty much since COVID. It was a really, really significant number that we lost. We went from about 50 drivers pre-COVID to we run about 30 if we're lucky. So it's a lot different. Rides have also changed. Needs for rides have also changed. Privatizing Medicaid made a huge difference in our transportation, and it reduced rides because it reduced, I think, services for those individuals who qualified for it at one time. But we still don't have enough. And it's just about, it's always, it's the drivers, but it's the challenges of running transportation in a pretty rural area. That's a big geographic area. Transit runs in 5 counties. It doesn't run in all 7. So it doesn't run, there's another agency that runs in Chickasaw and Bramer counties. But to be able to fill up a day for a driver, they just can't be over here enough to catch that next ride. And so to have backup drivers that are open to and willing, maybe not to work a couple of days of the week, but if we called you up on a Wednesday or Thursday, would be able to do that. That's what helps us plug in and not have to turn away those rides that we just don't have any drivers for. And we used to have many, many backup drivers, and that's just changed over the years. And so that's what we really need is, individuals who are available in all of our areas that don't have a particular desire of working a certain amount of.
You can use this for a recruiting plug.
Anybody, yes, anybody who knows anybody you're interested. Yeah. Good benefits, good.
The housing part of it, do you have a waiting list for people?
Usually we do, yes. I know we're full almost all of the time. And if we're full, we're gonna establish a waiting list. I can't speak to what we have right now, but my guess is we probably do because we seem to well.
Is there plans to expand the number of affordable housing?
It's really challenging. Housing is very challenging. And in fact, and we'll talk to the board about this, but we just have been applying for years and years and years for grants with Federal Home Loan Bank. And it is to help Willow Mill because we've hit our 20+ years. That building was gutted and renovated, but it's a very old building, as those in Decorah know. And so that was all redone 20 years ago. But guess what? 20 years has went by. We need tuck pointing. We need a new roof. We have really high dollar. It was $1 million+ grant. And it continues to go up because costs go up every year. We apply for this and we were just told we weren't funded again for it. So we're likely going to have to go, we've got to start doing some things. And so the roof is going to be the first priority. So we're going to have to go take a loan out to be able to do some of this work. And so I'm getting to what your question is the hard part of this is when we talk about new housing is great when it's new, but it's a very difficult to have a reserve fund when you're topped out at your rent, because it is low income rent. We have just enough to fund one staff person to manage all of the housing, and she's busy. She cannot do any more. And then to be able to think about long-term renovation that you're going to need, there is not enough money that comes in for that. And there is not, so far, what I see for Iowa are new housing that comes in the form of a loan that you're going to be paying back in 20 years. So that is a board discussion, but you can sense it's very difficult. Housing is extremely difficult. And so right now, my goal is to be able to continue to do all we can for the existing housing that we have to keep it nice, to keep it safe, to keep it affordable for all of our residents. And that's my focus right now. And that's the challenges that we see.
There would any movement from the county level to, form an ad hoc committee, people from your agency, people from city councils throughout the county. I don't know what other entities could be involved, but to have a larger discussion on affordable housing needs, because it always comes up.
Yeah, it is a need. It's not being done because it's not a need, that's for sure.
Right. So I just wonder if we could put some good heads together and that forward a little.
Answer.
I see you don't have any changes in the general roof.
No, we don't have any, and yeah, none at all. Not the total budget. And then if you were to look at each of the line items, even the client services and those budgets stayed consistent on there. So yeah, not much for questions on that at all. And as you can see, we are asking for $59,417 from the county this year. We did not change this from last year. We've kept the request the same as we have previously, not because it's not needed, but we also recognize the budget constraints that our counties and cities have as well. So.
Thanks, Trisha.
Thanks for your work.
Yes, thank you.
Next item on the agenda, we're a few minutes late. Jayne Schultz, County Recorder with FY 26 budget.
Copies of her budget in your box a couple weeks ago. Does anyone still need one?
It's been started
in box.
So not any changes from last year. I think I asked for, I raised my training services from 500 to 600. It seems like the price to go to Isaac is a little bit this year. And I did raise what we contribute back. It'll be the year to we broke, so I raised that. Last year, our contribution back to general fund was 500. This year, I'm expecting at least 3,000. We have about 2,800 boats in the county, so all those will be due in the next, starting in January. That's what we'll be doing, January. So everything else pretty much the same. Oh, I raised my, no, they did raise us a little bit, and you know what, that's all goes to general fund. We used to keep $1.25 for each registration, and now we get $2. So big, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I raised, I guess, our passport. I see I've always estimated what we do for photos, so I raised that up from 7,000 to 8,000 that we contribute back.
How many passports do you usually process a year?
Huh?
How many passports do you usually process?
About 600. 600. Yes.
Why is it from 21, 22 till now, we're like 50, almost 60,000 less in income? Why, what?
Recording. About half of what we contribute back to is recording.
I suppose everybody was refinancing.
With higher interest rates, you aren't getting
Yeah,
as many.
well, and I think, yeah, there's no refis that we've been doing, and then just availability of properties. I think when properties come available, they're sold pretty quickly. But yeah, and then, yeah, so that's why, a few weeks ago, I talked to you about our fee proposal for the Recorders Association. And that's the best thing we can pursue, is to increase our recording fees. That would increase that amount 75%. The recorders from Senator Clemish's district, we arranged a meeting for him to come here and talk to us. He's on local government. He's the chair of local government. He's very positive about the proposal. So hopefully that will, no, it's not going to go through with us just not advocating for it. So we're trying to do what we can to get that through this year.
Did he give an indication that it might come up in this session?
Yeah, he said, don't worry if it just sits there for a while. But don't worry, I remember him saying that. Don't worry if it just sits there, because it will. It's something they're keeping an eye on. And all the recorders have in the state have tried to advocate for this proposal. He certainly saw the effects it will have on our general fund. He saw right away that our recording fees right now are the lowest in the Midwest. And so he certainly was very receptive to it. So,
Has that been a topic of conversation in the agendas at the ISAC conference with all the recorders?
well, just in our business meeting.
Yeah.
So it's just, this has really been fine tuned this past year. So we're going for it this year. Yeah. Yeah. And then the positive effects that we'll have on the county residents, we'll have with this increase, it would pay for the fraud prevention notification system through Iowa Land Records, and have some good feedback from, for county residents at a very minimal cost to people, to the average person, when you buy a house, the recording fee for the deed is $12, $17 for whether it's 1 or 2 pages. This would raise it from 15 to 20. So it'd be very, very minimal for the, amount of positive that would come back to the county and the individuals.
You want to share how the community or businesses can access the digital records of your office?
Sure, it's through, there's a link through the county website. If you go to the recorders page, because I've got it on favorites, so now I'll have to remember, go to the recorders page and there's the blue tabs and historical documents and access it right there. You can search numerous ways. You can search for the grantor grantee, if you know your whoever you're researching, your great grandfather, great uncle, whoever it is, you can research by that family name. You can search by legal description, where the property is, you're looking back.
And if you're not tech savvy, you can go to the recorders office.
Or give us a call. That's right. We're always there to help.
Have you found that system has cut down on the number of people coming in and bothering?
Between that, in fact, one of the surveyors for a local engineering company said, I hardly have to come into your office anymore. So we used to see him pretty often. The surveyors have to do a lot of research. So yeah, absolutely.
So on average, how many people even physically come into your office a day?
Oh, well, but they do, for right now, we're renewing ATVs, so we've been doing quite a lot of UTVs, snowmobiles. That's what's going on right now. And passports, we get a lot of calls for passports. So that takes up a lot of time, even though the State Department has required a separation from issuing birth certificate, issuing citizenship evidence, and being an acceptance agent for passports. So we only have one passport agent, but when she's helping somebody with a passport, she needs to absolutely concentrate on that. It's not something you can multitask, so the rest of us have to, take care of the other people in the office. And she does a very good job. She has to be recertified every year. Our office has to be inspected every year. Done very well.
Any downtime in the recorder's office?
When we do have downtime, we're constantly indexing back our deed books. Our surveys have mostly been indexed back through the 60s. And so it's those very early ones and the great big books that haven't been indexed. But deeds, we've got indexed back to 1920s. You can access those without going back, and looking in the book indexes. We can find records for people when they come in. So deeds and miscellaneous books, we've got back to about the 20s. And that's what we do. We constantly try to improve our retrieval time. We're also what we call parsing our legals. So that way you can search not only by grantor grantee, but by legal. So if you have a legal description, we should be able to help find an easement or a survey for you. If you're looking for. That's our biggest request.
Have you completed that project where you were digitizing most of the records except for some of the big books?
So that's what ArchiSearch did was, so we have everything digitized, but we're still indexing. That's what takes longer. Yeah, indexing those books to match the images.
So the scanning aspect of it.
The scanning is done and now, you're right.
Is that all done?
As far as I know, I think,
We did
those minutes are really interesting to.
We did the
look
minutes
back,
books and the transfers of land books.
That's amazing.
And we added on that book of everything that the clerk report has.
That's done.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Can the public look at that online? Have you thought about being, for passports, you don't have to make an appointment.
We suggest people to make appointments for their own advantage because this way they know Lisa is available. As I explained, we only have the one agent, so this way we know if they do make an appointment, they know that she's there, she's available, and yeah, good point. Yep, yep. And what all they need. Biggest thing is people don't bring a checkbook. People. That's usually the biggest thing. Even though you say we need a check, they say, well, I would.
No, why do they need a check rather than?
Oh, because all those applications go in the mail. And so we need to send a physical check with them. And that's.
They're just the agent for the
Yeah.
State Department. They aren't actually issuing the passport.
Right.
They would have to go get like a cashier's check if they didn't have a person.
I'm just asking that question to make the community aware that it's not our decision to have to do physical checks.
Yeah,
It's a state.
exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
How the state is set
They
up.
have to be the exact correct amount. And then when they leave our office, they're sent in a traceable way. And I can't even just drop them in the mailbox out here. I have to actually take them physically down to the post office inside and mail them to make sure everything is secure. So you have no worries once you leave your vital documents with your passport agent. And it's,
I know about that with the post office.
well, we trace them, so we know, yeah, that's as best as we could do.
Anyone have anything else today? Thank you.
Yes, thanks for your time.
Next item on the agenda, the Winneshiek County Historic Preservation Commission with some project updates and funding requests. Morning.
Paul Leonard, State Commissioner, member, who's our secretary to the commission, and also does our annual CLG report action questions. I think, Ben, you sent out everything. I don't know if you have questions. We're requesting the same amount as last year, the 2,600. Two of the 2,000 that will be our publication of historic barns in Winneshiek County, which will come out later. We're hoping in 25 once the survey is completed. And then we have travel and lodging for 400, and again postage, office supplies, miscellaneous at 200. So that comprises $2,600. And there are a lot of little projects or other projects that are little that come along. Like the last 2 weeks, I've been engaged in talking with Suzanne from the Ely Clark Museum. They're interested in putting that building and the Lord Schoolhouse on the National Registry. So we've been giving advisory information to them about proceeding with that and where they can get the most bang for the buck.
I'm surprised they weren't.
Well, it's an interesting story. Yeah, it's an interesting story. About 5 years ago, we approached the state on it and they denied the school because it had been moved. But since then, it's changed somewhat. So I think we have good prospects because it's a very early and very rare log schoolhouse. And, it's justifiable having to move it because out in the woods where it's at, when I photographed it about 20 years ago, it would have just been trouble. So that, it's been preserved, but by preserving it, you shouldn't be held that you can't put it on the registry. So they're changing their tune somewhat.
Yeah, they actually started the process for the building back in the 90s, and then for some unknown reason, it halted. And only recently did Susanna find the application and the communication with it down in the basement of the building, and brought it to life again. And of course, Steve and the commission have been very helpful with what's being done at Stillville.
Well, I think it's a very strong candidate personally. Bardrock stayed there that summer on the upper floor of that building, and Beely Brothers clocks. I mean, it's just, and the log schoolhouse, it makes sense to put it on the registry. So we're gonna do all we can to help.
What's the total income of the commission in round numbers, Ashley? Do you recall?
Well, I mean, all together with our special projects and everything, we're about 18,000. But
The reason I bring that up, Steve, is that they raise all these other funds, sale of books and the rest of that. And yet with the $2,600 that we allocate from the county to the commission, they do an incredible amount of work and getting information out to the public.
Well,
So, I mean,
we've
I
been
have
very
to,
fortunate.
I have to give them some accolades on that because I see it every month, except for this one, thank God. That we didn't meet this Saturday.
That's true. Well, and much of that 18,000, once Bear Creek Archaeology completes the reconnaissance survey this spring or early summer, then they'll be paid off and then we'll have the publication. We do intend to publish it just like we did with Stone Structure Schools and the mills. And they're all pretty good sellers. We just sold about 16 this past week, which isn't huge numbers, but for us it is.
That won't discourage sales, but they also are available in our local libraries.
Yes, yeah. And I think you helped gift them to the auction one as one of, and I know that, Steve has too, to Spillville and Fort and stuff. And we thank you, it saves us the mileage. Are there any other questions that relates to our request?
It's the same amount that you just for the last several years. I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, like Steve was saying, we try to go out and hit organizations and banks and individuals for matching funds. So we really use that as seed money so that we can sprout and get a good plant going, so to speak.
It's a good way to put it.
Good. And even the commission gave away the books that have been sitting for quite a while with respect to the elementary school over here.
Right, Eastside School, we acquired them years ago, and we just gave out complimentary copies. And I know Ben and Tony, especially at the courthouse, were really good at helping do the distribution. The depot was also, and it's great because a lot of people who went to school there, if they didn't have a copy, I think they appreciated being able to get one. And it doesn't do any good to them sit in boxes when they age. It's not like wine or anything.
Oh, it's fun to see, teachers from my youth and their comments about teaching there or people who went to school there.
Yeah.
It's a really nice document.
And I went to school there too, but I think junior high. But it was quite a building, but times have changed.
So there's quite a bit of information I know that you put on the CLG report actually, and it's quite a process even to pull that together and get it off to meet the requirements of our local government.
Yes, it is. And I know we have probably one of the biggest one in the state. We're very active. So that'll be due here early February. So you'll be hearing from us again with approval of that. But it's always fun to put together to look back on the news articles that we have and the photos in the papers and the different projects. We do a lot.
And the commission hosted an event for the state here in this last year also.
Yeah, in the last fall, a year ago. And we're planning on one this forthcoming year and maybe on rural schoolhouses, that or the mills. Mills are very popular topic right now. And we had a publication in the Old Mills Journal, which is a national magazine. We had an ad in there too for the Mill magazine, but we also had a nice article in there that went national too. So, and then I guess one of the things I'm really pleased at, last thing was the Decorah Leader, the newspaper, used information from six of their stories from our publications. And they give us full credit on each one too. So that's nice little free advertising.
So, and for public interest, the information of, for example, Bear Creek study and so forth is up on the Winneshiek County website. You want to explain a little bit of that, Steve?
Yeah, we have all of the surveys that were done previously in the school, so forth on our website. And we have all, and through this, working with the State Preservation Office, we have all the National Register sites and our survey sites that were done over the years in Winneshiek County too, that they're all on our website. And as soon as the barn one gets completed, we'll be adding that to it. So anybody can go from their kitchen table, dining room table, anywhere in the world and access those records. And it's just a nice free thing to get us wide coverage for the, for the public as you can get. So that's a plus for the animals.
Thank you for your work.
Yeah,
That's great. Thank you.
very much appreciated. Got a few minutes, Mike, so if you want to get comfortable.
There are new brochures on the table over there, a little stack of that Winneshiek resources study. If you didn't make it to one of the presentations, there's brochures there with a QR code. Will take you to the full report for that. So help yourselves to those.
On this signature. We'll have 4 of them here to the different townships in Minnesota. Okay. So I was thinking that you would sign where it says Winneshiek County.
Authority?
Yeah, on each of them.
Okay.
And then that we pass this obviously. So.
Well, then, before I forget, on the time card, are you gonna have one more?
What's that?
Your time sheet? Are you gonna have one more of those for this month? Because
Yes.
we're not meeting. the next
You're not
month.
meeting next week?
No,
Okay.
I mean, I can come down,
Where I can swing by myself.
whichever works, but just let me know when you have that done. And
Okay, it's a catch-up week. I've had 3 weeks of, between Thanksgiving and then I have a county engineers conference, and then this week I was gone every single day with stuff. So I might be,
Yeah, just let me know when it's ready and I'll get it.
so yeah, it might be a little bit extended in terms of hours.
We are meeting next Monday, right?
No,
No, not? Oh,
So we're not
We
meeting
didn't
the
have
next 2 Mondays.
No,
That's correct.
that's what he cited.
that's
Yeah,
why,
that's
I-
That's why we're trying to get something
Yeah,
that come
that's what I
up,
thought.
emergency or.
at the 23rd on the calendar.
No.
So this will be the last
Thank
meeting this month.
Thank
So
you.
the year, the last one of the year. And then Mark, if you don't mind stopping by the office, quick.
all right, well, it is 10:45, with Kueny, our county engineer. Got a few things for us, and
Yes. You can go through the agenda items first if you'd like, or if you'd like me to go through just my report.
go through your report first.
Okay, so this week's report, on Tuesday, I received my
operator Class A license as a operator for underground storage tanks in Winneshiek County. Winneshiek County is a semifinalist for the RAISE grant. W14 south of Fort Atkinson is a submitted project. Finalist selection I will be likely informed today. I'm surprised. Yeah, no news so far. It's good news. The 2.5 million is the project. So I've said that we'd be willing to accept up to 60-40 split between local funds and federal funds. So
Excited to hear that.
yeah, right. Next thing, I guess, we'll go through the list. The engineer's office recommends Andy Norton for hire for the secondary roads department for the position of Signman.
Is he a local guy?
We just stole him from Fayette County. He was their sign guy.
Oh.
Yes, yes. That is, he is excited to work for Winneshiek County. So yeah, the most experience, relevant experience on that. So yes,
Younger, middle-aged?
I would say late 30s.
Somewhere in there. He actually lives south of Washington. I think they're trying to relocate, maybe up toward the Ridgeway area. So that was another reason why he left.
Joel was even friendly.
I was quiet with Joel because the decision was not made for sure. So
I would motion to approve hiring Andy Norton for sign.
A motion and a second to approve the hire of Andy Norton for secondary road department signman. Is there any further discussion? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
and there were 12 applications, four standout applications, and I interviewed somebody I really want to hire that I get it. So I will say that. These are for Jayne. So this week, further coordination with the Fillmore County and Houston County to update the respective memorandums of understanding was done. This is a state of Minnesota requirement from the counties. I'm going to ask that the board move to approve those memorandums of understanding. Dan,
So move.
Second.
You want to explain what that is?
I just want to tell Dan that I got the 28E agreements with the different townships behind the specific one. So that's how they line up. So just, that's our agreement with the township that is cited in the memorandum of understanding.
Okay.
They're all kept.
So the motion is second for the memorandum of understanding. Any further discussion?
How many bridges does that include or not?
Just, it's about 10 total.
Okay.
I'm gonna be off maybe one or two, but
Yeah.
I didn't add them up. There's 3 in one township, 0 in another, so it's gonna be 9 or 10.
So is Minnesota's inspection laws different than Iowa's, or are they
Yeah.
all there?
No, Iowa follows federal standards,
Oh,
and
okay.
Minnesota is more stringent. And the county have said that we can have access to their bridge inspections, so why are we gonna do it, kind of a thing. So that's,
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
and then crews work Saturday and Sunday to improve the road conditions. So we'll have some OT. And then I was looking at the weather this week. It looks like Tuesday, Wednesday, it's nasty and perhaps a little bit of not fun weather over the weekend as well. So Six County.
Did we see any real accidents with all this ice and so forth that you hear of, like?
I did not hear of anything. Had a couple of citizen requests on the gravels over the weekend.
They got kind of messy in a hurry.
Yes. As far as I know, they were taken care of, but I don't know that for sure. So.
The warmer weather Sunday helps.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, in town here it was warm anyway, but Saturday it was bad on the gravels, but by Sunday they were melty.
Yeah. I know. I saw a couple of texts come through, so they were busy up until 4 o'clock or so.
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
6 county meeting occurred on Thursday at Kingpin Bowling Alley. Positive feedback from everyone I've talked to on that. Everything from the food to the venue to the restaurant meeting afterwards. So on Friday, I attended a meeting in Independence, Iowa, focused on soil stabilization. Steve was there as well. It was a meeting with contractors, county supervisors, and other county engineers. The goal is to continue to collaborate knowledge to better use our aggregate on our gravel roads. Basically, frost boils and things like that are a big problem, and making stabilizing our base so that we don't have to use as much base. So we're all trying to figure out the economics on that. That's why we're all collaborating on this.
Mike, I would add to that also the professor, the director of the Civil Engineering Department of Iowa State, spoke at length and provided slides and everything else. But probably the most significant, I thought, was we all went out afterwards, and they had Buchanan County had done, I think, about 8 different road sections using different types of treatment spanning back over the last 5 years. And the results, I would say, are pretty impressive.
So yeah, they use everything from the recycled plastic to a enzyme-based solution to stabilize these bases. And then they have mats, these Mirify mats. Some of them are wicking. Talk about geogrids, all kinds of different ways to do this. I'm kind of most interested in either the recycled plastic or enzyme solution. Is just with all the utilities going through our roads, if something gets cut up, you're not losing out a lot of money. It gets destroyed.
Do any of them really stand out over the others?
Well, I'll tell you that wicking fabric was the one that I would be most interested. The price point and the fact that when you cut through it, I'm not sure how it would work with these utilities, because when we plow fiber optics and electric lines and everything else, how are we gonna keep track of that? I don't know the answer to that. I don't have a great answer for that.
I think it would be wonderful to take that polymer product or something, for example, and do a test patch if it was possible. And like, for example, one of the things that they pointed out that it a lot of benefit on was this washboarding and the continual blading to try to eliminate the washboarding. And we talked briefly, Michael and I did, about take that piece of town line road from Middle Calmer to the top of the hill right there is always brutal most of the year as far as trying to get up that washboard. And if it would work on that, there's at least selected areas within the county where we have a lot of washboard that has, because we got the drifts. Buchanan County is pretty flat.
This is slides from Dr. Hill's presentation. I'm happy to scan these in and send them to the board if you'd like.
He was a tremendous presenter. He was one brilliant man.
So, yeah, and he had a fantastic presentation at the Iowa County Engineers Conference as well. So, all right, next item. The Upper Explorerland Technical Committee meeting was on Wednesday. There's no substantial news for the Winneshiek County, I'll call it, I should say Winneshiek County secondary roads to be relayed. Most of the stuff was others. Still working on the railroad flat car bridge coordination. Had a couple of conversations via email last week. Subdivision, I'm looking to get ramped up on that this week. I won't be going out a whole lot. And then upcoming union negotiations are being prepared for. What I'm looking to do is use some of our crew members to be a kind of a fill-in tech. We kind of ran into some tight spots with our technicians on W14 and Bridge 5 and going on at the same time, trying to alleviate that. And that will include, perhaps one crew, two crew members, and then myself getting certified to do this. So it's not an easy certification. That's why it's a little bit, we have to be selective on who goes. So FEMA events, this is a big one. FEMA events documentation has been finalized. For category C documentation, roughly 102,000 was committed by FEMA. Category A documentation, roughly 49,500 was permitted by FEMA. At an 85% reimbursement rate, the county is looking to receive a total of 128,000 in category A and category C claims. Winneshiek County category Z claims came in at $7,500. Staff is going to continue working with officials to resolve a unique UEI number for the secondary roads for future FEMA events. So we don't have to use the counties.
So Michael, you did some significant communication with your staff, with the road crews over reporting any damage and recording it.
Mm-hmm.
With this kind of response back of 128,000 coming back because of the work that was done to record it. Right? I'm hoping that you're going to make sure that everybody sees the benefit of what their efforts were and why it's important to get that information back to you.
I do plan on sending an email out. I wrote this up just this morning. Is there something besides just an email that you'd like me to do?
No, I just think that you had a very good meeting with the whole staff and included many of us, and the whole reason for this and brought in the state and so forth. And I think the extra effort that they go through to record this and so forth, this really proves the worth and value of it that gets added back into the budget of non-tax dollars that are able to go further in our road department.
It's money, it's federal money that comes into our department for repairs that we'd have to make anyway. So, yes.
I think they're on board with it since you had that meeting with them and they all understand now aspects of what they have going on there. But now that you can see the dollar amount, it should be real evident.
Yep. So, yes, that was excellent work by my staff and coordinating all of this, because this is my first FEMA event. So I want to thank them for that.
You don't have many more.
Yeah, I was gonna say it probably won't be your last.
Yeah, it is what it is. Ridgeway shop improvements. They were working on the wall insulation and put in the grates. The last I checked, boiler installation and roof work are outstanding. And then the safety meeting is the same as last week, and the monthly meeting for the SS4A did occur on Thursday. So with that is the engineer's report. I have nothing further. Do you have any questions or any suggestions for me?
Well, when you did the study for the upper end of Middle Hesper, did you come up with anything, decide to do anything or not, or? Speed study.
We did do something, I think, didn't we?
We passed to change it to a 35.
Okay.
So
I haven't seen those.
I have not seen this. I haven't gone there and checked the fines.
Okay.
And I guess I can do that.
No, that's fine.
It was 25 and he raised it to 35.
Correct.
After
And we voted on that, so, if it's not 35 yet, let me know. I just haven't driven Millhouse for in the last 2 months. So, anything else?
Thanks for putting together a good 6 county meeting. I always enjoy them.
Yes, I always like the 6 county meeting as well. Like I was stuttering quite a bit, but that's first 6 county meeting that I hosted, so it's fun.
Now you get a break.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. More than a year.
Yep.
So,
Actually, you get like 5 years, so don't host it again until it's our turn.
well, the 6 county meeting happens every quarter, so,
Year and every year and a half.
Right.
so,
Year and a half, you do it.
Year and a half.
yep.
Went to the 6 county meeting. It was quite wonderful to see all of the supervisors in the same room discussing the issues that are in front of everyone. Thank you. I think I was the only public there, but the food was very good.
Yes, and I ended up with a couple of the roles and the core 8th grade girls basketball team.
Oh, funny.
Appreciated some of those roles as well, so. Yeah. Anything else?
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
And I'll scan this in and send it all to Holford. Yep.
The recycling, Evan started his job, and the new guy, but Evan's on pre-scheduled vacation this week. Back, things are moving along really quite well.
I had a conversation with him at the end of the workday on, I think it was Thursday or Friday. He was getting ready to leave town on his vacation. He said things were going well. Pleased with progressing.
There's talk of we might have to purchase another truck. So we'd have 3 in rotation, but we're kind of working on maintenance schedules and potential maintenance schedules for those. So if one is down, how we can get that fixed for services without.
It's probable, maybe a very valid need. I think there's room in the budget for it. It's something that we were down with a number of containers that we're handling, or a possibility of an on-call relationship with one of the other haulers we have need of.
Problem is like everything else, the lead time, if we order a truck now, it's almost a year at least till we get it, so you have to anticipate your need.
They're single axles.
Yeah.
That lead time probably ain't quite as bad.
I've seen one, with the big mayor. It's not June with that.
Yeah, we arrive in June, we get it in the summer, something like that.
By the time they put the other hardware on it for
Roll off equipment.
This time of the year is when the recycling beds get used to the max too.
Yeah, Christmas coming up when.
So
And I think this is the last month of Malcolm doing citywide
That's
service.
January 1 that ends.
So we'll see an increase in the drop-off sites, I would anticipate.
Friendly reminder before the holidays, wrapping paper, please don't send it to the recycling. It's not recyclable, unfortunately,
Or bubble wrap,
or bubble wrap.
or styrofoam.
or styrofoam.
Well, there's a lot of things.
Please do not be like some of the others who decide that that's a trash depository.
But scrap metal is welcome out at the recycling center, so old grills, bikes, things like that can be taken out there. Recycled. Scrap metal bins.
And for questions of everything related to recycling, I hope I get this website right. It's winneshiewaste.org, where it lists everything that can and cannot be accepted at our local recycling center right now. And that will be updated in the future as we find new markets for various things, we hope.
Hoping that glass is probably the next major thing.
Is Andy joining us online?
I am.
Oh, there you are, Andy, out of the sky. What do you all got for us today?
Really nothing. I have not heard back from Dairyland on that easement that we talked about last week, so still waiting on that. Can't think of anything else offhand that's a burning issue, I guess.
And your recommendation was if the county wanted to dispose of that land, wait for the easement to be signed and then proceed with that?
Right.
Will you be staying online for the next section of the agenda?
I am about 5 hours from Decorah and I'd really like to hit the road. So no, I don't plan on.
Thank you.
You want anything else for Andy?
No.
Hit the road, Andy.
And one thing, Andy, I had a conversation with Mike Clemish. He put on this seminar that the engineer was mentioning in his report. And he said that he's now the chairman of the Health and Human Services Committee of the Senate. And then he questioned some of the relationship between HHS out there and us on the responsibilities of the various counties in paying for all of their needs as an unfunded mandate. So he was going to look into that further.
Sounds good. Right now, I think we're paying it under a 28E regardless, but if the other counties, I mean, if there's a reason that we shouldn't be doing it, we might have to redo that with the other counties on the 28E, but if he's willing to look into that for us, that would be great.
He told me he was asking the HHS staff that works through his office at the Senate, to give him more input on that. So I'll try to advise as I get more information. But he thought he didn't really see that us moving them from here to there was really within the scope of what we should be doing as a county. So he was a little bit surprised at some of the level of service that we provide.
I do.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
All right, thank you.
Oh, yeah, I talked to county land, he's supposed to stop up and sign.
Or on the farmland.
Farmland, yeah.
So they are going to rent that then?
Yeah.
At the same rate?
Yeah, it's just extending the contract.
Is there one more
year on that
on the contract?
So just come up to your office, you at least sign something so you need to verify it.
It's a nice surprise on the Steiner thing.
Yeah, that's huge.
You want to share with the public what you're talking about? Great news.
Well, it's gonna come up in the miscellaneous, but the SRF loan forgiveness for the Steiner sewer plant came in at
47 or 73,000.
Got it right here.
It was almost the max of what we were hoping for, yeah.
The spread on the original thing was 250 to 450,000, and it was 430 something.
$437,652.
Loan forgiveness.
We lucked out.
They started out, they had a $570,000 loan. So that leaves them 140.
Yeah, 571,000 in loan and a total project cost of 751,000, and they're gonna get 437,652 as loan forgiveness. So
Plus they had other grants.
Plus the
Grants.
grant, yeah,
So basically the 570 is what they had left to pay. So they're gonna be down to 140.
yep, that'll make it a lot easier, but they won't have to raise their rates nearly as much. When their financial analysis was first done, they were gonna have to almost double their rates to up to over $100 a month per house if they had to pay that whole loan off. So,
So yes, there is a Santa Claus.
yeah, so
They're gonna be way within, if I remember right, the sheet was between 250 and 300 was gonna be their loan. Now they're gonna be, they got a little left, I think, to pay off from previous years, but yeah, they're gonna be well within scope of 15-year payback.
Back to the community services building, is got a message that all subject their supervisors and we'll look at the desks down there to see if they will work, so we'll have to something.
No.
There's a lot of people that came in after we got started at the beginning, just to review the new, there's a light in the back with a green bulb in it.
It's not Christmas.
It's not, yeah, it's not for holiday decoration in here. It's to let us know that the recording is in process. So if that green light goes off, it means the recording has stopped for some reason, but it's an indication to us to be aware of that. No light means no cameras are on. And the blue light, if it comes on, is to notify us that there's a participant online that has a potential question, or has something to say. So, do we light the courthouse during the holiday season at all? When does that start?
Don't remember, it's designated, I think it's basically the week between I'll probably start the 23rd. And then I'll go through the 2nd. So a red and blue changing pattern. Tony does it. Yeah.
And a lot of people ask me why it was green, and I had to, remind them for veterans.
Oh, yeah, for
We do that
veterans,
each year.
yeah.
A lot of counties do throughout the state, probably most. And while we have another wall here, you can access all of the videos of the Board of Supervisors now on our official Winneshiek County Board of Supervisors Facebook page. So.
YouTube.
Go ahead.
YouTube page.
YouTube page on the YouTube channel for us. You can also access them. I'll always post them on my Winneshiek Vermace District 3 Supervisor page, but they are available to anybody on our channel for Winneshiek County Board of Supervisors. I think you have to hit subscribe to that.
How far back does that go?
Well, the one for our channel only goes back 2 meetings,
Yeah.
about 2 weeks. The one on my Facebook page goes back through, I think, April of 2022. I have to look right now, but
So last week's is on there?
yep.
They're still working on some of the technical fine tuning. They were working last week's. I don't know if the week before had the closed captioning or not, because they were getting that in place on last week's meeting, so. But, well,
There are some bugs to work.
yeah, the goal was to have it kind of figured out by the end of the year, so they're still working through some of those details.
It's 11:15. Next item on the agenda, Shirley Vermace and Tom Murray. Information Board appointment discussion.
That chair's-
Might be quite a ride here.
that chair
The
might
other
be
one's a
better.
little taller.
Oh, all right.
We should
This
label
from the
that.
kids' table.
We need to put tape on that chair to remind us.
Oh, this is well, good morning. It's been quite a morning. Appreciate you very much. Thank you for including me on the agenda today and for this opportunity to respond to the appointment last Monday of Supervisor Langrick to the Winneshiek County Conservation Board and to the comments from two supervisors that were reported in the article in the Decorah Leader on December the 12th, which I have a copy of. And the title of the article was Supervisor's Appointment to County Conservation Board Sparks Scrutiny. My comments and perspectives are based primarily upon my own personal experiences while serving as a board member of the Winneshiek County Conservation Board from 2009 to 2020. I submitted my application, which I happened to find and bring along a copy of, to join the board of Winneshiek County Conservation Board in December of 2008. My application also included my resume of conservation experiences gained over many years. A letter arrived from Barb Schroeder, Executive Director of Winneshiek County Conservation, in early January of 2009, welcoming me to the board. It was an honor to be selected to join the board and a real privilege to work over those next years with a very experienced and dedicated group of volunteer board members and the professional staff of the Winneshiek County Conservation Board. I remember attending my first meeting of the board on a very cold January night down at Lake Meyer in the small cramped office attached to the garage and the workshop for the maintenance equipment. Executive Director Barb Schroeder, Board Chair Ray Torsdahl, and board members Lee Zeke Lee, Brigitte Mead, and Dr. Marty Vermace provided a warm welcome, and we were off and running with a very full agenda, complete with updates from Barb and her staff. Throughout the meeting, opinions were discussed and questions were noted and responded to. This interactive and efficient meeting tradition really would continue consistently over the next 11 years. So when I read the following statement, quote, in the article, both Langreck and Kelsey said the supervisors have had difficulty getting information about Winneshiek County Conservation's activities in the past. A problem which will be remedied, they say, by adding Langreck to the Conservation Board, unquote. It struck me as quite vague and non-factual. For example, what activities and when are we talking about? Their comments were very contrary to my own personal experiences during my time on the board. During those years, it was common practice for board chair Ray Torsdahl and his successor, Nancy Bolson, to accompany Barb Schroeder, the Executive Director of County Conservation, on many of her regular meetings with the supervisors to provide updates and respond to questions. The actions from those meetings were often shared during subsequent Conservation Board meetings. Thus, all individuals concerned with the county conservation activities were kept up to date. All of our monthly board meetings were publicly posted at least 24 hours prior to our meetings and open to the public. I do not recall a supervisor ever attending one of these board meetings. I believe they would have if they felt they were not getting enough information from the meetings with Barb and Ray or Barb and Nancy. Our meetings were conducted by the board chairs following accepted parliamentary procedures and Robert's Rules of Order, and the agendas followed a very standard order of business. The auditor's report was always thoroughly discussed in detail, as well as the status of funding plans for special projects like the Trout Run Trail and Nesty Valley Recreation Area, which were underway during those years. We also received written reports from staff about their activities during the past month. This very organized meeting format, timely sharing of information continued at least once a month throughout my years on the board. In addition, Barb or a member of her staff always responded to my questions and suggestions in a very timely manner by phone or in person. Also, I believe it's worth noting that when I recently checked with a current board member, I was assured that Barb and the board are just as transparent to the public about their work today as they were when I served.
No one is trying to hide anything. Given my personal experience from serving on the board and working with Barb and her staff, I found the statement in the paper at best very puzzling, and at worst, defamatory treatment towards a longtime and well-respected employee of Winneshiek County. I believe we should hold our elected officials, in this case, our Board of Supervisors, to a high standard of civility towards county employees and the citizens of Winneshiek County who readily volunteer their time and share their many talents and experience to serve on departmental boards. I was very disappointed in the recent decision to appoint Supervisor Langrick to the board, especially without an application or any indication of his interest in or experience with conservation work. There has to be a better way to move forward than to lose a talented and experienced member and leader on the Winneshiek County Conservation Board. I hope you will reconsider this decision. Now I'd like to conclude my remarks on what I think and hope is a much brighter note. As you work with the county budget, I hope you do in fact look at the big picture and the actual results of the work of our citizen volunteer board members and Barb Schroeder and her talented and experienced staff. Look at their joint efforts to follow the vision and mission statements of the department, which everyone can find on the website for Winneshiek County Conservation, and much more. The mission statement, the purpose of the county conservation is to provide the public, which includes our own citizens and the thousands of people who visit Winneshiek County every year, with wide-ranging opportunities for quality outdoor recreation while wisely managing our natural resources and encouraging land stewardship through natural history and environmental education programming. Organizational vision for the future. Our vision is an environmentally sustainable and conservation-minded community with easy access to our natural areas, parks, and outdoor recreational opportunities, well-managed and protected natural resources, and meaningful environmental educational programming. Throughout each year, Barb Schroeder and her staff are providing quality educational outreach conservation programs for students in our local schools and for adults of all ages. Check out the Winneshiek County Conservation Board website to get a current picture and a past picture from this year of all the activities that are offered throughout the year to citizens of Winneshiek County. In addition to fulfilling these mission and vision statements, please keep in mind that the huge economic engine of outdoor recreation, which includes pursuits like hunting and fishing, hiking, biking, paddling, birding, camping, and the list goes on, is connected to the county trails, parks, and natural areas that are maintained and enhanced through the work of our professional staff and experienced volunteers in county conservation. Also, I hope you'll have an opportunity sooner than later to hear from Stephanie Fromm and her economic development and tourism team to get another update about the impact tourism has on our local economy. Millions of dollars are brought into Winneshiek County every year because of what visitors will be able to experience during their stay throughout the county. Please talk to the owners and employees of local retailers, breweries, restaurants, sports bars, gas stations, hotels, campers, grocery stores. Ask them about the impact visitors have on their business. Because I enjoy fishing and local rivers and streams in Winneshiek County, I frequently check out the license plates when I park at a stream. And it is amazing to see so many out-of-county plates and to learn in out-of-state plates why they come to our county every year, year after year, to experience our incredible array of natural resources. If you visit with Luther students, where I worked for 25 years, you will learn that many of them chose to come here because of the outdoor experiences and amenities that are in abundance throughout Winneshiek County. And many of those experiences are just a few feet from campus. I believe deep down, you understand and get the message I'm trying to express today. We should be doing all we can to support the work of county conservation for the health and the well-being of our own community, as well as the many visitors who will visit us in the future. thanks again
Can I ask you a
for this
question?
opportunity.
Why is anything gonna change?
Dan, would you speak up?
Can you tell me a little bit? With you coming onto the board and with us losing Bill Odie? Well, for one thing, I think if we compared your background and experiences, no disrespect intended, with Bill Odie's when it comes to conservation and your own personal interest and experiences, I think it would be safe to say that we would be losing a real asset. I'm all in favor, Dan, of having you come to the meetings, becoming an ad hoc member of that particular board. I think it'd be great for you to learn and see firsthand what goes on every day in county conservation. Get your questions asked, get the answers you think you need.
Let me respond also to your statements, Tom. And I know that everyone on this commission is aware of this because of our own relationship with ISAC. State Code 331.321 references a county supervisor is permitted by law to serve on any board or commission specifically prohibited by law. But it says an attorney general opinion held in Iowa in 2004 states it supersedes the common law and permits county supervisors to appoint one of their own members to serve simultaneously as a board supervisor on the county's conservation board. Now, you brought up the point of Dan Langworth not submitting an application for the board. We all serve on committees and we do not complete applications. We are the ones who appoint those boards. And with reference, we're not making the suggestion that Mr. Odie isn't a qualified individual, but his term expired at the end of this month. And so we chose as a board to appoint one of our own members as we can to this quasi-independent commission. Even our own auditor last year asked us why we hadn't done that previously. Mark Vick serves on the health board. Did you fill out an application for that board? Shirley made a statement to us a year ago that she was, or the beginning of this year, that she had too many committees and that she was too busy and didn't want to add other.
Solid waste agency, because we
Yeah,
can all
so
need.
you left some positions and some of us picked that up. But we certainly have every right to have one of our members there. As I recall in my 2-year tenure on this board, the few times that we have seen or got reports from Barb have been when she's presented her budget. And when recently she did a very nice presentation about the different watershed projects and things that she was doing. And that was one of the only ones that I can recall where we got information from her about what was happening. But yet, when other members of this commission are sitting, the supervisors are sitting here at this table, each meeting we have on our agenda, any reports on committees or the things that are going on. And each of us carry, quite a few of those. So those are all part of the reason. So public presentations, we want to know what's going on because we hold the responsibility of budgets and how the taxpayer money is spent. So we don't take that lightly. All the taxpayer funds, we're concerned about all of where they go. And that's our duty to all the public. And by the way, any presentation that she would choose to make, we've gone to the expense and all of having all of those recordings available and published right on the county website up in the cloud. So anyone can hear and be aware. I'm not sure how many public attend the conservation meetings each month when that commission meets.
If you ever attended one?
Excuse me, they're not on the agenda.
I would like to comment. Are you?
Go right ahead.
Interrupt you.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, my feeling here is that you all have very busy agendas. There's no doubt about it. You're really putting in the time with the budget and doing your best, I'm sure. Except that when you make a move like you did, it really, to me, smacks of some kind of a different agenda. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish by not coming to board meetings at Winneshiek County Conservation. If you had questions and they weren't answered in a more formal context here in this room and you just wanted to observe, have any of you ever done that? I mean, you've been on the board 2 years. I don't know, Dan, how many years? 4. Mark? All
And I don't
right,
like
I
to
mean,
bring
in
up-
all that time, couldn't you, I mean, you went down, I think I understand you made one visit, maybe down to Lake Meyer. Have you ever been to a program that has been conducted by the Winneshiek County Conservation staff?
There was $1 million grant we let go, could have connected, we could have worked. But we didn't know about it till 4 days till the grant would have been due. I found about it through the policy board.
I'm sorry, but
I mean,
I
that
don't
was
know.
never even brought up to us.
No.
Yeah, things like that irked me a lot, because I know we don't have a lot of spare money, but maybe we could have, if we had time. You can't do something in 4 days. You can't
I don't
stop.
see any drastic changes
And,
coming. It's unfortunate that one of the senior members, Bill Odie's term was up this time around. If someone else on the board wants to resign, we'd be more than welcome to put Bill Odie back in. I have nothing personally against anybody on the board.
Well, I don't have I don't have, what I would call an objection to you being at the meetings and to offer an opinion. My personal opinion is that having county supervisors at meetings, is a conflict of interest. I'm not an attorney. It just feels that way to me.
We have a state law. We
That's state
can
law.
have
That makes it-
state
it's
law.
not a conflict of
It's
interest.
not a conflict. It's a state law. We can.
I'm just giving you my opinion, just like you're sharing.
All you can do is talk to the Attorney General with that respect, because he codified it 20 years ago. It was not a conflict of interest.
So, I mean, we're not breaking no laws. We're not doing nothing wrong.
Dan Langford serves on the city council for the city of Washington. I serve on the city council of Spillville. Same thing. State Attorney General does not see that as a conflict of interest. There isn't a interest that we carry in those other areas.
Fair enough. We've all had our say. You know where I stand.
Yeah.
And probably not,
I respect you.
Yeah.
you know, I'm probably not gonna
You can give it. No.
be real excited about this change if it does come to fruition. I hope you'll consider an alternative approach, as I mentioned, where Dan could come in as an ad hoc member. He can come to every meeting. It's open meetings. And I welcome not only Dan, but all of you to come. Experience what's going on in county conservation. Well, there's so many things going on. You could go to a presentation by Larry Reese right in this room on a number of natural resource activities that he's more than qualified, and they're fantastic. You should get out and see some of these things. You don't have to go very far. And it can be done in conjunction with your normal workday. These meetings take place usually soon after, at least they did in my experience, soon after the normal workday. And I'll tell you what, the best part of the meetings for me, no offense to you as the auditor, but, and the budget reports, which we went through diligently, but I loved hearing from the staff members all the different programs that they were providing in a given month and the activities that they do. I also wish you could hear some of the comments I get from people I visit with on the streams. Winneshiek County's got so much going for it. We shouldn't have to be taking this time to voice all of these opinions back and forth. I mean, really, it could be done in a more civil and certainly, I think, a more thoughtful manner. My comments.
We have a few miscellaneous items.
I would like on the agenda.
Um,
So I'll reclaim my time after you go through miscellaneous, if that's what you prefer. I can do it now, or I can do it at the end of
I'll give you 5
miscellaneous.
minutes.
I'll take what time I have. And we can do more after
Then we'll
miscellaneous.
do it after the miscellaneous.
Okay, I will go after miscellaneous.
Appointments to the boards and commissions. Ones that we table.
Did Holly?
Yep, so I have, got a few that we didn't, finish up last week. So Board of Health, you were waiting for the recommendation from the from Public Health, and I forwarded that to you. So you had 3 applications, and they, made a recommendation of which 2 they would prefer to have appointed. 3 applicants were Janet Ryan, Allison Schultz, and Christopher Miscellaneous. And the Board of Health, after their meeting last week, recommended reappointing Janet Ryan and Allison Schultz.
One of the reasons why I'm at Allison, she has better for qualifications
But, Jana was stepping down from school board. So her qualifications were better off for what she.
Because, explain yourself there, Mark, because you have a veterinarian, you have.
Well, yeah, we got a veterinarian, we have to have a medical doctor. I'm on there, we gotta have somebody from the board of supervisors. We had a Luther, but she was conflict, she was, a lot of times in Rochester, she felt she just couldn't fulfill it anymore after the next year. So it was very nice of her to step down now so we could put somebody in instead of halfway through midstream, because there gets to be some confusion on what happens, whatever. So then we have somebody from school district, so got the areas covered for the county. And that was, yeah.
Do you want to motion these individually and?
You could do them at both of them, I think.
I think we move to accept the recommendation of the two candidates.
I would second that, Allison and Janet.
Well, we have a motion and a second to appoint Janet Ryan and Allison Schultz to the Board of Health. Is there any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
The next thing I have is the Pioneer Cemetery Commission. And so last week, there's 3 openings. Last week, you only had 2 applications. And after doing some checking, the third person thought she had submitted and hadn't. So we do have now 3 applications: Stacy Gosling, Carlton Haugen, and Hallie Wise.
I move to approve. I will second that.
The motion and a second to approve 3 to the Historic Preservation Commission. Any further discussion?
What
These are to the
Pioneers?
Pioneer
Cemetery.
Excuse me.
Cemetery. There's not, what is there, 9?
There's 9.
9.
3 each on 3-year terms.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
The only other thing I had was on the Compensation Commission for eminent domain. So if we found one person that had moved away, did you find anybody owner of city or town property to put into that slot? Or you want to keep looking on that, or they're a volunteer in the audience?
It meets like once every 15 years. It's not.
They've met once in the last 15 years, and that time, and when they do meet, they only pick like 3 or 5 of the 24 people. So
You don't have to be a resident of Decorah on that.
no, any city or
See a chance to dip your toe in the water.
City or town.
Yep, there's a separate section for egg property owners, a section for real estate or bankers, and a section of just other citizens. So this opening happens to be in the owners of city or town property.
This will keep looking.
Keep looking.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'll do it.
They need to fill out an application.
I don't think so. Usually this is an arm twisting position rather than. Competitive.
I would nominate Ellen Rockney for that position.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the nominee? If none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
That's all the appointments.
That's all for boards and commissions, yeah.
Deputy auditor.
Yep, so in terms of my appointed deputies expire with my term, and my term was up this year and I was reelected, so I'd like to reappoint my 3 deputies to their current positions. So I just need an approval by you and signature.
I would move to appoint the current deputies
Second.
in the auditor's office.
We have a motion and second to reappoint the current deputies in the auditor's office. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
There's 3
blanks there for you to sign. Dan was up this year, but his deputies operate a little bit differently because of their civil service duties, so they're appointed, not their terms don't run with his.
Do I need a blue pen? Do I need a blue pen?
No, what is that? But when like Brenda is done on January 3rd, all of her deputies become, I mean, technically on that date, there are no employees in the treasurer's office. So when you make an appointment on that following the 6th, the person will then present his request, assuming I know who it is, his request to appoint the deputies again.
Does that mean we don't have to pay anybody for those 6 days?
Well, it's the weekend. Saturday and Sunday.
Can you explain to the public like the difference between like a deputy and
a clerk? So a clerk is a employee of the county versus a deputy as being an appointee of the elected official. So the main difference is some of the authority that person has. Anything that I can sign as the auditor can only be signed by a deputy that I have certified. So if they're, for example, real estate documents that are submitted in my office require the auditor's signature, whereas my deputy that's in charge of real estate signs most of those documents. I seldom sign those because she's taking care of that part of the duty. So so the deputy has more authority. And then also, technically deputies we don't have to have as the elected official follow the same policies and procedures that the Board of Supervisors has adopted, but traditionally the elected officials in Winneshiek County have all agreed to follow the same procedures as everyone else.
then there's a pay?
Deputies their pay is assigned by the elected official. In the case of like the deputy sheriffs, they have a bargaining agreement or they have a separate agreement that they work under. But for like my deputies, I have authority to assign them a pay, but it's regulated by state code, a maximum that I can pay them. So.
And that's based off your wages.
Yeah, the percentage of my wage is the maximum. There's no requirement that they have to be paid the max, and mine aren't paid the maximum that they can be.
Up to 85%.
Up to 85% for some of them, not all. Each office holder has a number that they can appoint to 85%, and then the rest are capped at 80%.
Or you can choose to do it.
And we can choose to do less, which is what I currently do.
And the hours of an elected official.
Elected official, as the elected official, I don't have set hours. I'm just required to do the duties of my office. So, but my staff, if they're deputies, I set their hours. But as I've just said, we follow the same policies as the other employees in the courthouse.
Next up, the SRF loan forgiveness paperwork for the Miscellaneous sewer project.
Yep, so we talked about this a little bit earlier. The project was awarded a sizable portion of their loan is forgivable by the state revolving loan fund. That's what SRF stands for. And so there's an acceptance of the loan forgiveness that you'll have to make an action and have Dan sign. And then there's some other strings attached that we've already been working with the operators out there, signage and things that are required to basically give SRF the acknowledgement and credit that they're doing this, but yes.
So I'd like to take.
I move to approve the loan forgiveness.
A motion is second to approve the SRF loan forgiveness paperwork. Is there any further discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. And we must have a small election canvas.
Yes, we have, we had a special election last week to fill the vacancy on the Decorah City Council. Good news is that everything ran very smoothly and the, bad news is nobody won. So the city of Decorah has runoff provisions to be able to be declared a winner. A person would have had to have 50% plus one. So they had to have more than a majority of the votes. Nobody reached that threshold. So we're having a runoff election between the top two candidates, and that'll be January 7th. That's established by state code 4 weeks after the election that didn't have a result. So for today, you're certifying the results and abstract of the election that was held last week that shows how many votes each person received, but doesn't declare a winner. So there's no winner declared at this canvas. Just for the public's knowledge, since there isn't a candidate filing time and withdraw and contest deadline and all that goes on with the with a normal election filing, since we just take the top two candidates automatically, I just assumed that these results were going to be certified today, and I've already ordered the ballots. We should have them tomorrow so that by Wednesday we can start absentee voting for the January 7th election. I wanted to get that going, figuring that more people will participate this week if we had it available than next week with Christmas, that there may not be as much.
And all people will vote in the same places they voted.
Same place they voted in November, same place they voted December 10th last week. It'll be the same polling sites, same procedures. People can request absentee ballots by mail. That's available. You can request them anytime now, but they can't be mailed out till Wednesday. So we've had some already waiting for those ballots to show up.
Just out of curiosity and information, how far from 50% plus one?
He was at
numbers both places.
Yeah, he was at 49 point, some 49 point, something, I can't remember. Anyway, I didn't add it up exactly, with either 12 or 13 more votes they needed to hit the percentage.
For those who think my vote doesn't count.
Yes, yeah.
Here again, another example.
Yeah, yeah. So, or even if a fewer people had voted, the number he had would have been over a higher percentage. So either way you want to think about it, it was really close, but no result.
What do you think the expense is? What roughly is the expense of conducting
a special election like this? A citywide special election costs between $3,000 and $5,000. I haven't put together all the expenses from this last one, but the next one will be almost exactly the same price.
plus your staff time?
And that's outside my staff time. Yes. Yeah.
City pays for it.
We can bill the city for any of the direct expenses. So we bill them for programming the machines, printing the ballots, all of the poll workers, envelopes, postage, those kinds of things we bill the city for. They can't be billed for our time. So that is just something we absorb.
So we need a motion to approve the election canvas.
I motion to approve the election.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the election canvas. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same
Two
sign.
papers to sign, each of you get to sign. So go on.
Motion carries unanimously.
The general election was 100 and some signatures. So.
Yeah, that's right. It's based on the number of races, so.
107, if I recall right.
Purple tunnel.
And for people who are City of Decorah residents, they also have filed for a special election for the municipal electric utility in March. And you can start requesting absentee ballots. Obviously, those aren't going to be available till about 3 weeks before, but you're in voting for this one and want to get your request form so you can be ready for the next one, that's available also. That's why I left, there's still election supplies sitting in the corner. I didn't put them away, figuring there was a chance I'd need them again, and it's true.
Okay. Does it for the miscellaneous.
Yep, I do have a few budget things to talk about, but we can wait. Yeah.
Go ahead, Shirley.
Thanks for time on the agenda. At last week's meeting of the Board of Supervisors, we made a few appointments to county boards and commissions based on the individuals who had expressed interest in serving or continuing to serve in those roles. They also did so by filling out the official application provided by the Winneshiek County Auditor's Office. When it came to appoint Bill Odie to continue to serve on the Winneshiek County Conservation Board, I was assuming it was a standard reappointment because 1, he was just elected to be chair of the Board of Conservation by that board. 2, he was the only application submitted for that position. And 3, the County Conservation Board had just sent the Board of Supervisors a letter with their unanimous support for Bill Odie to be reappointed. It all made perfect common sense to reappoint Bill Odie to the County Conservation Board. I've attached Bill's official application here for your reference to see his extensive list of qualifications. I'll give you a copy of this, Ben, when I'm done. For your And if for those of you who would like to see that list, it is a public record and I can provide that. So it all made common sense. When my colleagues that day hurriedly decided to replace Bill Odie on conservation with a county supervisor, I was truly dumbfounded. When I realized what was happening, I made the mistake of offering to serve on the board myself. Dan Langrick was quickly nominated and voted for now as the new appointment to the Conservation Board. This was all action by this board that ignores precedent in this county and ignores Iowa Code 350.2, paragraph 3. As leaders, we must have the courage and common sense to admit when we're wrong. Last Monday, we were all wrong. What mistakes did we make? 1, neither Dan Langrick nor I completed and submitted an application to be considered for appointment to that board. So neither of us should have been nominated in the first place. 2, this board did not comply with Iowa Code 350.2, paragraph 3, as that section of code states members of the County Conservation Board shall be selected and appointed on the basis of the demonstrated interest in conservation matters. The word shall in Iowa Code is mandatory. It's not can or may, it's shall. Neither Dan nor I had filled out an application, so there was no clear demonstrated interest provided by either one of us to the board for their consideration when they made the appointment. Bill Odie, in his completed and submitted application, very clearly listed his extensive experience in professional work in conservation. To be clear, there is absolutely nothing preventing any of the 5 of us from attending the Conservation Board meetings each month. They are always and always have been open to the public, and we could have attended any of them. Here's the most common sense solution to remedy our mistake. As a board, we could vote today to reappoint Bill Odie to the Conservation Board and to serve out his term as chair of that board. The time on our agenda today states possible action for that reason. Then at our next board meeting, or also today, we could vote to create an ex officio or liaison position for a county supervisor. This way, everyone wins, especially Winneshiek County, all of you. We can choose to continue to have the valuable expertise, experience, and professional connections Bill Odie brings to the Conservation Board. And Dan Langrick, in the role of county supervisor, would have the opportunity to be involved in the county conservation projects and meetings. Then Dan could fill out an application next time we have an opportunity to appoint someone to the Conservation Board, possibly next year. And he would then have the demonstrated experience in conservation matters to list on his official application. None of the 5 of us have ever attended a meeting, as we've been told and as we all know, and only one of us has ever visited the county conservation staff at Lake Myers offices. That was me. Any of us can do that, and they've answered any questions we've had. This proposal is just basic common sense. That's what we are as Iowans. We have basic common sense. It adheres to Winneshiek County precedent, process, and policy, and follows Iowa code. It is also in the best interest of Winneshiek County to keep a seasoned conservation board member in place, but to also involve a county supervisor as liaison to report back to the Board of Supervisors after each meeting, as we do on other county boards. To be clear, county conservation has come to meet with the Board of Supervisors every single time we've asked them to. And they provide a detailed annual report every year as per Iowa code dictates them to. So with this proposal I've just presented, with common sense and righting a wrong, I now make a motion to rescind our vote from last week, vote today to reappoint Bill Odie to the County Conservation Board so that we can continue to benefit as a county from his experience and expertise on that board for another 5 years. And in the same motion, I move that we appoint Dan Langrick as a liaison to the board so that we can have a county supervisor present at all meetings for 1 year, after which time he can fill out an application to be considered for future opportunities on the Conservation Board as a member.
You can't make that motion.
So I've just made a motion.
No, you cannot make that motion because you did not vote for me to be on the county conservation board. It would have to take a motion from the 3 of us.
Would one of you vote to rescind last week's vote and do this common sense solution so it serves the whole county and you can still be on that board?
At this point, I don't.
Would you?
No, I'm not.
Can you give us me a reason why?
Ben, have you ever, in your tenure as auditor, had positions on these commissions?
Things like
with
this,
submitted
maybe why
applications
Just
from
listen.
supervisor?
Can you repeat that question?
Yes, if supervisors ever submitted applications when being appointed to boards and commissions, and no,
How long would you serve as auditor?
2009.
Has the Conservation Board ever had a supervisor on it to apply to it?
No.
Thank you.
Does Iowa State Code allow for the Board of Supervisors to appoint a member of the Board of Supervisors to the
Yes,
quasi-independent
you
commission?
cited that, but my question to you guys is, in our role in making Winneshiek County the best we can make it, why are we choosing to not accept the higher qualified person to serve?
How
on
do you
that
know
board?
that?
You don't have an application.
Mr. Langford, point of order?
This is not a public hearing. Please reframe yourself.
Wait, I have a question. I'm on this board, so I have a voice. What did you provide to show that interest in conservation and
6 months
application?
ago, I told you, as right here at the board meeting, that I was interested in being on the county conservation board.
That doesn't show an interest in conservation over time. That doesn't show
No,
an
there isn't.
interest in
There is
time.
not a motion on the table.
The motion is to motion to reconsider an action from last week has to be made by one of the people that voted affirmative.
And that is true.
That's law.
That's true. So I'm asking my colleagues, please make that motion to rescind that vote. Right or wrong, we made mistakes. I'm trying to do what's best for this county and keeping a very seasoned, experienced person on that board and allowing Dan Langrick to serve on that board as liaison member and then apply with an application next year and get on the board the right way. That's precedent, that's process, and that's policy when it's come to the conservation board in this county for the last several decades since it started the conservation board.
Okay. I've had numerous people stop me and ask me why we did that. And yes, it's pretty obvious that I didn't have a say in it because I was on the minority when we voted to appoint Dan. I'm not saying that it shouldn't. I think one of us, it would be great if one of us was designated to attend those meetings. I feel bad that we turned down perfectly qualified applicant for the job for no real reason.
Because he was up for.
Well, I know, but there's no
We didn't
reason.
single anybody out.
No, but there's no reason. We need to dilute the.
It's not a public hearing.
We need to dilute that board with one of us when it's just, I think it's much better that the citizens make that decision. Obviously, we have control over the budget, but it's, you know, I think his knowledge and expertise, it's a shame that he's not,
We have
wasn't
another,
appointed to.
Mark, we have another appointment next year. He'll come up again for another candidate.
So
And
that's-
so certainly Bill Lodi can apply, can be put back on that commission next time.
That's exactly the point I'm making. Just a second. The exact point I'm making is what you just said. We have an opportunity next year. You can sit on the whole board for the whole year, going to every meeting, Dan. But next year you
And I
can
will.
apply, and next year you can apply to be the appointed board member with an application so that we can see your level of interest.
We
in
don't
that
have to have
position.
an application. The supervisor has to have to put out an
Stop.
application.
Precedent in this county, policy precedent of process in this county has been on the Board of Conservation,
Or state law.
on this county. Who are we as a county? Who are we?
Well, we definitely ain't.
We are
shit.
not, we're
I'm gonna
not
Tell you that.
all of that. We are not, and if you'd like to see what he held up, it's my Facebook post. You could read it on my Facebook page. It's not on the agenda.
Question.
About the budget things.
We got
Oh,
that.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go on.
I would like to apologize to this entire community. This is a wrong.
I was here when Dan mentioned it last summer. I was here for that meeting. How many of the conservation meetings did you go to since you talked about your interest a few months ago? I'm just curious.
None.
Zero.
None.
So you weren't that interested?
You're putting words in my mouth.
If you were that interested, you would have gone to those meetings.
All right, what do we have for the budget?
Yep, I can, I was going to go through, and if you wanted to put this off for next time, that's fine.
How many items do you have?
I was gonna go through an explanation of this 2% reduction business. If you wanna go through that, if you wanna do some math.
I think we should do it while we've got community here to learn what we're up against.
So I'm gonna put my teacher hat on here and use the whiteboard. So the state law has to do with the reduction of the levy when you have a growth rate that exceeds 3%. So the law is looking at the number of dollars that we actually can collect.
And our projected was what?
3.33%. So we're over the limit. So last year we were under the 3%, so there was no required reduction in the levy rate. But we were able to leave our levy rate at the same amount. And so our valuation growth, which was 0.93%.
Can you guys please be quiet? Ben's trying to give a presentation here.
So our 0.93% valuation growth using the same levy rate meant that we collected 0.93% more taxes. I'm going to talk about specifically the general fund because that's the one that has the restriction. The rural fund also has the same restriction, separate calculation, which will also have to take effect. But I'm going to talk about specifically the general fund being the biggest and the one that affects the most of our departments. So whatever the value times the levy rate gives us a amount of property tax collection. So for my example, I'm just going to do $1 million. We experienced a growth in our levy or in our value of 3.33%. That's not official yet, but that's my estimate. So if we could use so we got an increase in our value times the same levy rate. If we could use the same levy rate, that would result in $33
million, 33.
Well, yeah, so that would it would result in this amount of increase in dollars that we can collect if we could use the same. But the law requires this to go down, and the way that's calculated is to take the amount we could have collected and divide that by 102%. So after you divide that by 102%, that becomes this amount. So in this example, if we had collected $1 million last year, we can only collect $1,013,039 this year, which means that when that's what the law requires. Then we backwards calculate that back to what this new levy rate is. So we can have a 1.3% growth in our dollars. That's where I'm coming. That's where I quoted 1.3% in the email I sent to you guys. That's where that's coming from. Last year in the general fund, we collected $6,366,500 about. If we do a 1.3% increase, that puts us at $6,449,300 or $82,800 of new money. So in just the general fund, this is our cap of how much new money we can have. And so 1.3% growth, that's the general fund. That's where most of our departments are operating. There are exceptions to that, like planning and zoning and sanitarian operate out of the rural fund, but that's going to have a similar cap. Road department operates out of their own fund, but they're capped on the amount of money you can put into the road department, those kinds of things. But this is where all of the treasurers, auditors, reporters, sheriff's department, all of those are operating out of this general fund. They have some expenses covered in the supplemental fund, like health insurance, HIPERS, FICA, and property insurance, those kinds of things. The supplemental fund is not restricted. So if we get a big increase in our health insurance rates, that doesn't get affected by this. But any salary increases, increase in operational costs, all of that is going to have to come out of this money. So that makes it hard to, you're calculating increases in budgets. That's how much new money you're going to have to be able to give raises, buy equipment. And everybody knows that everything from paper to pens and pencils, everything costs more. The increase in operational costs, all of that across most of the county's departments is stuck with $80,000 new money. So that's the crux of this budget restrictions from House File 718 that we're dealing with.
Would a 2% raise, would that even cover that?
No.
So
2% raise would be 140,000 just.
Any raise over 1.3% means that you're gonna have to cut something else or find alternative revenue sources. So you had Jayne here presenting that they've asked for a $5 increase, which seems pretty minimal, but it was gonna give them, what did she say? It was a 75% increase in their revenue from deeds, which is gonna be, I think she had 80,000 budgeted, so that's another.
I'm not sure that number's right though, because she said it was at $15 and it was being raised to 20, so 25%.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, that's new money that can come in. You have the treasurer's office, they just did last year pass a change in the fee structure that hadn't been changed since the mid-80s. So they're gonna have over $100,000 of additional revenue coming in out of their fees.
Net zero for.
Yeah, and so things like that, interest rates on our money that we have in the bank is up, so 3-4 years ago, she'd collect $200,000 or $300,000 of interest in a year. We're gonna be close to $1 million of interest this year, so those places are where you're gonna have to come up with your new money to operate, not property tax, because that's restricted. Now, so luckily, we have some of those places that we already know about, interest and Brenda's.
And that money that's on interest isn't just spare money that's laying around. That's money that comes to the treasurer's office.
Yep. So we
For
collect.
tax purposes that hasn't been used.
Right.
We don't use it until we need it. And so in turn, that money goes into,
Investments.
yes.
Yeah. So everyone knows property taxes are due twice a year, so we're collecting roughly half of our property tax money twice a year. So then through the course of the next 5 months after we collect it, we get have interest on it in the meantime. So, and in good, as recommended by the Department of Management, our external auditors, it is important for us to end the fiscal year with approximately 25% of a 1 year's budget in the bank at the time, because you got to get through July, August, and the end of September. So you got to get through 25% of the year before property taxes are actually due. So you need to have money in the bank when the July 1st hits. Otherwise, because we have bills to pay all year round. So that's the money that we have sitting in accounts and gaining interest. And right now, that's to our benefit. That you aren't going to find your new raises and new equipment and whatever else any of the departments ask in budget increases in property taxes. You're going to have to find them in interests or cuts or other places we can raise revenues.
So.
For example, that DHS, which is now HHS building, once we get them moved, we can sell that building. We have $250,000 plus interest still due on the purchase of the building from Spectrum. That's our community services building. So hopefully that will cover that. And if there's extra, you could use that to help get by for a year. But that's a one-time money. So you don't want to rely on one-time money for ongoing expenses like raises. But if you need a new truck at recycling, or you need something that's a one-time expense, that's where you can maybe target some of that one-time money.
So in the coming weeks, we'll all be discussing the budget pretty much at every single meeting for the next several weeks.
January will be budget intense. We've been having presentations by department heads and organizations. And at this point, we're gathering information. And as you get through mid-January, late January is when you're gonna have to start actually making some decisions.
So what I was going to say is there are some really great thinkers in our community throughout Winneshiek County. If you've got ideas on budgeting or services, let us hear from you. Let us hear from you, your ideas or your concerns as we go through this process. Because I'd rather not cut people or services if we can help it.
Maybe you should talk to the people in Des Moines.
But that's the people in Des Moines. He's
We will
referring
agree
to.
on that one, won't we, Shirley?
The people he's referring to are legislators who put in House File 718. They're not budging. I mean, you can talk to them all you want to, but they're not going to budge on this. And it's a problem.
More.
Yeah,
It's a problem.
it's not over.
No, and on the road fund, we're only gonna have a 1.3% increase there too.
Yeah, it was a little.
3.41, it'd be a scratch more.
Yeah.
Maybe 1.35.
The problem with the rural fund is the biggest expense out of the rural fund is your transfer to the secondary road department. And that's limited by dollars per thousand transfer. So if you continue to make the maximum transfer, which we've done for as long as any probably living board member remembers that we have, that means they're going to get that full 3.33% increase. So you're going to have to come up with that money out of someplace else. because you only have 1.3%.
They get 3.00375% of the secondary or the
So yes, we can.
rural
fund
fund.
The road department.
And the general fund pays
And someone else-
0.1675% for the roads.
And that's why when we go through these budgets and I ask for, is there $500 here, $1,000 there that we can cut out of your budget this year? Is it really all necessary? Those are tough questions we need to have answered and ask the questions. I think every department can trim a little bit.
You may have to also propose a hiring freeze.
Really
There's a lot of
brightened my-
things.
Really brightened my day with those
Yeah.
numbers, Ben.
It's an upside down scenario.
It is. It's not sustainable to, I mean, we were, as counties, it must be that not every county was as conscientious of this as this county was, but it was normal for the Board of Supervisors for years, since I've been auditor, to not increase the levy rate unless it was absolutely necessary and rely on that growth in valuation. So you would have had 3.33% new money by not raising your levy rate. Use that to cover your increases in operational costs and raises and things, but for some reason, I don't know the impetus or what, if there were counties that were abusing it profusely or what, but that's the law that we got, and now we're stuck under that.
I think what we've seen is that some of the largest counties in Iowa have a very different valuation than we do in rural Iowa. And there should have been a two-tier system or something like that to make it more fair to rural Iowa. But rural Iowa is suffering. We went to an ISAC conference can't remember if it was March or or August conference. And a gentleman spoke as a supervisor for one of the southern tier counties along the Missouri border. He was crying in front of 300 people in that room because his county is going bankrupt as a result of House File 718. And some counties, and I hope we don't see it in our county, we're all very afraid of this. Some counties are seeing those little towns go belly up, and then they become part of the tax roll and responsibility of the county budget. Well, we don't have the money to plow more roads and get more equipment to cover all the cities.
You had Frankville, which is not incorporated, asking for a pretty minor $4,500, but can you imagine one of our other cities, if they unincorporated, you are on the hook to fix their water system or their sewer system or something.
Yeah, Vestana just got done with their sewer system. Didn't cost us anything, so we left up.
Yeah, we left out. Yeah.
Got very lucky. So please give us
cities that
input.
could disincorporate.
Another thing I don't think is exactly fair about the way this is structured is those, if you hit 6% growth, then it's a divide by 103% rather than 102%. But it seems to penalize the counties that are having valuation growth. And that used to be your thing. Let's attract businesses here. Let's get new people to build new stuff to keep our value up. Well, you get up too much and then they cut you. If you had hit 2.9% growth, you get to have the whole amount.
This is where.
But we went to 3.33, so now we lose 2%. This seems kind of.
Talking about state mandates that are unfunded. That's why we get pretty upset about that as county supervisors, because they're mandates that are pushed on rural counties with no money to back them up, but we have to do them. For instance, the mailing that went out before the last tax budget.
Yeah, I think the assessor's office did the evaluation increases in steps from the study. I think he could have put it all in there at one. I'm not sure, but I was telling, he was gonna try and do it in steps, so maybe it would level off. We wouldn't have huge increases, you know.
But he still has to go by what the state tells
State,
him.
state does, it's all
Whatever he
state
has to
regulated.
use.
Just trying to keep it baby steps at a time. Hopefully it would level off and maybe back up.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is second for adjournment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'll be here for office hours as usual for about an hour today.
So we gotta eat.
Well, maybe 40 minutes because I'd like to go to the Veterans Clinic tour. So I'll be here for about 40 minutes.
You went through all that work cutting them up and
And
then.
then here, I see there was some down here, already laminated even. I didn't know they were bringing some down here. That's good. I have some extra.
Wait.
Oh, okay. And I should ask Tom if he wants to leave. Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Is Tom Murray still here?
Lanyards.
I think he stepped in the restroom. You want to leave a copy of your statement so I can put it on our.
I've never been to a supervisors meeting in Winneshiek County. But I have to say, shame on you.
I noticed you were reading it, so I figured I could keep it, but anyone wanted to. Now we recorded.
You have to compromise, you have to work with people.
I'm very good at compromising.
I didn't see it.
I think I had something for.
And that's how democracy works. Just the majority on.
You can email it to me too.
I do that.
Yeah, then I'll print it out and put it in the record.
But you know, the positive thing is this, and Dan,